for you new people, I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you. You get me?
We get you, sir!
Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Ratcats Roughnecks!
Ooh, this is going to be a rough one. Much better, much better. Here we go. Let's see how I can make this work. Live from Miami Beach. Miami-Dade County. From the East Coast. It's the Joyland White Party Wreckage. This is the Rational Mail. Gonna have a rough one today. There we go. All right, gentlemen. I present to you one Mr. Mike Portnoy. Yeah, as I said, this is going to be a rough one. If my voice sounds out of whack, this is why.
Hold on. Is it true your ex-wife have access to your bank account?
Yeah. I told you, I trust her implicitly.
I beg your pardon?
Implicitly. I trust her. If she wanted to take it, she could. There's very few people that you meet where you can trust implicitly. And to be honest, she was there when we were living at the in-laws' house. She was there when we couldn't afford a hamburger. She was there through the grind. She, to me, just like we kind of separated when we started making it, so she doesn't get to enjoy any of that. Right. To me, that's not right.
Wow. Hey,
I'm a loyalty guy.
You are a boy. You loyal to the soul.
Yeah, a lot more than that.
Yeah. I don't know too many people doing that.
No, it surprises people. But she could have, if she wanted to do something with it, she could have done with it a long time ago.
If your ex-wife, is she married?
She's dating somebody, boyfriend.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah. I want her to be happy. It's true.
But then she can't get no more access, Dave. She got to cut off, cut her low.
I won't even notice if it's gone.
You mean to tell me she might?
I mean, if she takes it all.
No. But she might take like, you know what? I'm gonna have this extravagant wedding. I'm gonna spend, $500,000 on a wedding. You cool with?
Yes, 100%,
dude.
100%.
Lord have mercy. What did you learn during that marriage about yourself?
She's still my best friend. Like we get along.
Jesus, please.
Better as friends than
yeah,
in a relationship.
Yeah. But she was with me at the beginning of this company, and like if she called me right now, it's like I need you. I'd be there. It's like we're it just didn't work as a marriage.
Dude. Oh my God.
Something up. The women who are struggling to find men, they're not the problem. They're not lacking looks, confidence, or standards. They're just not dating to pass time. They're dating with intention. And that changes everything. Because when you're wifey material, you're not looking for attention. You're looking for alignment. You're not chasing a good time, you're seeking a real connection. So no, it's not that there's a shortage of men, it's that there's a shortage of men ready to lead, grow, and build something real. And that kind of man takes up a lot less space in the dating pool. She's not struggling to find someone, she's just no longer entertaining anyone who isn't someone real.
I believe that.
Oh, there you go. How was it, baby?
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it was good closure for me and for him, and hopefully we can be friends in the future.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be happy.
Now we can worry about our future. I love you, baby.
Love you.
I'm so excited.
Can I get McDonald's?
Of course.
This is it, the home I built for my family. This is what I thought the American dream was. 6.5 acres, nothing but mature oaks everywhere. Like his sandbox, the swing I built for my daughter. It's a perfect barn. Hey, my blueberries. You know, that makes me happier than anything in that house. Get this whole chicken coop out of scrap, painted all the brick white, put in black windows, obscene amount of can lights. But I designed it to need no lights. Put in an island, stand cabinets. I remember adding this wet bar, big table, all floors, ambrosia hickory floating shells. This was Lily's room. Was that okay to leave? Built the perfect bedroom for my wife. Combined 2 rooms into one, tray seat, closet to die for. Most luxurious shower on planet Earth. I put every piece of backboard and tile in this myself. Ripped down quartz and polished it. Trimmed out this window. Kind of funny. The living area in my van is smaller than my old shower. Natural wood everywhere, man. This is where I watch football and fight. The hell of a man cave. This was the baby room. Lily Kate Fells, Lily Kate Fells, Lily Kate Fells. Mikey Pierman Fells. Son was born in this house. 2,200 square feet of perfection. This is what I thought would make me happy. Wife told me she wanted a divorce, and the American dream was shattered, man. I'm gonna sell this place to plant some different seeds somewhere else. See if I can find a dream somewhere that makes me happy.
And provide to a woman that a woman cannot provide themselves.
I mean, it's a narcissistic question. And I think it's because it's completely
Apparently a house.
Delusional. It only would come up from somebody that has kind of taken a lot of the societal narratives that make people think narcissistically about relationships. And it's like what men provide women and what women provide men are mutually exclusive to those individuals. Now, we don't like to talk about it because if I were to talk about it, what would come up is all of your vulnerabilities that would deconstruct a lot of the narcissistic thinking that people have about relationships. Is that men and women don't just want or like each other. We need each other. There's a certain point where people have to compromise and reject what they are in order to survive. That is not thriving. Thriving exists when this exists in harmony with each other. Because there is no evolution of mankind without women, or without men to protect women in those very vulnerable states. There's so much that goes into the longevity of both of us together.
Like that?
What do females actually find attractive in a male physique? We're not talking about personality, big biceps, that doesn't matter. There is a general shape of an attractive male physique that seems to be a near or actually universal. This is what almost all women prefer. No surprise, it is wider shoulders and a narrower waist, giving you that Dorito chip look. How do you build that in the gym? You want to preferentially train your delts, your shoulder muscles, for sure, especially side delts, which bulge out to the sides, as nomenclature would indicate. Definitely the lats, the under the armpit musculature of the back that makes you wide, especially from the back, especially in clothing. And of course the upper pecs to give you that armor-plated look. A lot of times folks will say, okay, narrow waist. What do I do in the gym for that? And the reality is there's really nothing you can do in the gym to narrow your waist. Really, a thick waist comes from too much body fat and not really the gym. And waist size is mostly about calories in, calories out. You can't crunch your way to a tiny waist. You can't do sit-ups. Just keep a certain lower to moderate level of body fat to keep your waist as small as it can be.
To start walking around half naked again, then stop trying to jump her every time she is. My husband loves when I walk around in my underwear, but there was a time I couldn't even get dressed in the same room out of fear of being grabbed and fondled. Here's what he did to get me to act more like I did when we first started dating. First, he had to make me feel comfortable enough. Now, it's no secret. You love getting a little glimpse of your wife changing or showering, but do you always have to act like a little boy who just got the last cookie from the cookie jar? My husband stopped trying to jump me every single time I was half naked. He stopped smothering me with his words and groping me every time I was getting ready in front of the bathroom mirror.
This is like pathetic. I just thought I would
He stopped.
Just cheat, bro. Just cheat on her. Did you have kids with this woman? I hope not. That's horrible, dude. That is horrible. I am sick to my stomach watching this. Black pilled again. This is absolutely disgusting.
Picked me up and she said, no, there's something that I need to tell you. And I said, is it bad? And she said, yes. And I said, is it about the marriage? And she said, yes. And then we began to drive back and I had this sinking feeling in me. Drove for about 5 minutes in silence and then I went to put my hand on her lap and she said, don't touch me because you won't want to after I've told you what's happened. And we got home, I was standing by the kitchen table and I said, what's happened? And she said, I've been having an affair with a man from work. Tears began to stream. I didn't move. And then she said, and that's not all. And she said, I'm pregnant with this child. And in that moment, I felt like I lost a lot. You know, I'd lost my wife. I'd lost the life we created. I'd lost the dog, our home, our parents-in-law, her family, everything that I'd really held dear. If someone said, what makes a meaningful life? I would have described these things. and it felt like they'd just been snatched away, just came crumbling down like a house of cards.
All right, I have to preset this one. There's no sound to this because I don't want to get a strike, but here you go. Watch this shit. Grabs her tomatoes. Those are her tomatoes that she's putting in. This is how you know your wife doesn't trust you, or she thinks. This is how you like test what your wife really thinks of you. Now, people are saying this was a setup. It could have been. I understand, but the example still remains.
Reward men who use frame to create an experience for them to enter into. They do.
All right, I want to point out as well here. This is Taraban. Taraban has finally decided that he's going to subscribe to my Substack because pretty much everything he mentioned in this most recent clip right here is him talking about everything that I mentioned in my frame series of posts that I just put up. So I just thought I would give you a little preview here. This guy ruthlessly plagiarizes pretty much everything I do.
Do not chase down men who don't or won't do this. This is important to keep in mind throughout the duration of the relationship, as men will be tempted to surrender frame in a variety of ways over time. This temptation occurs in two primary ways. Sometimes it's the temptation to escape an uncomfortable emotional situation created by the woman in a bid for more power and control. As I discussed in the Easter egg hunt, these bids typically follow the PSA system of emotional manipulation, or pity, shame, anger, PSA. No matter the particular thumbscrew, the woman applies emotional pressure on the man, who then cedes frame as a way of buying his way.
Dude, please, can I get a reach around at least? He's using the term seeds frame. They're every single, I just recently posted I think 3 or 4 different posts on Substack where I was talking about frame, and I used that term seeds frame.
Out of a difficult dynamic. As I discussed in the book, in its extreme manifestation, this takes the form of an attempted hijacking in which the woman threatens to leave or divorce if her demands are not met.
Almost verbatim what I was saying in my Substack posts when I was talking about how it's a power grab or it's a frame grab. I use the term, I literally use the dude, if you're going to pull me verbatim, at least try using other things that I don't, other words that I don't use. Can I get a sound check? Are you guys hearing me okay? I just want to make sure that you put a 1 in the chat if you're hearing me all right now, because I had to test levels, and I can't really do it until I see you guys out there in the chat. What's this? Oh, thank you. Diverting Hate. Baldoni tried to cancel you for misogyny. Yeah, of course. Destiny Erudite tried to cancel you for racism. No, they tried to cancel me for a lot more than just racism, but most recently, yeah, you're correct about that. Why do people get bitter, but you get better? Because I stick to my freaking guns. Okay, thank you for that. I needed to know. I didn't know if the sound was working well. I am, as you can see, I'm at the Hyatt Centric in Brickell right now. This is where I usually stay. This is like my home away from home. It's funny to come back here and pretty much have people who I've known for really since 2021. So now 4 years. I really like this place. I can't speak more highly of the Hyatt Centric here in Brickell. I really like this place quite a bit. So, oh my good. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for the vote of confidence, man. So I just did the Miami Babes in Toyland. We did the white party. If you haven't seen the pictures, once you're done here, go over to my Instagram and you can see some of the pictures of what we were doing. I have some, let's see, after action report notes. I'm a note taker, as you guys know, but I take mental notes. A lot of people used to give me grief about oh, well, Rollo, you're not out in the clubs, you don't know what you're talking about, you're out of the game or whatever. And it's no, dude, I'm most definitely in the game, in the sense that I'm not picking up chicks, but I'm out in social situations, and I'm Diane Fossey or Jane Goodall, you know, like I'm out in the field watching the humans interact. and I've been doing that really since the early days of 2005, like since I started working working in wine and spirits. And that was one of the things that really put me, I think, in the game, I guess. I know. Simply because I have to be sober at these things. I have to go and go do on-premise events, off-premise events, stuff like that too. But when I'm out there and we're doing events and promos and stuff for liquor brands and stuff like that, I'm always now. Granted, this was mostly in like the Orlando area, but it's still got a pretty vibrant nightlife. We go to Ybor City, we go to Tampa, we come down here to Deerfield Beach, we come down to Miami quite a bit. So it's like, in a way, it's almost my old stomping ground. But during those times, like this is before I even had a published book. I published the first book in 2013. So 2005, I'm still on the SoSwab, forums at that time. And I'm just taking mental notes the whole time, and I'm having these conversations and sort of reporting back what I observe in the field. And we have all these really great conversations. And it reminded me of something recently. If you haven't seen it, you should probably go check this out. I went and had a really good, about an hour and a half interview, I guess, with Fresh on Friday. And I think that was probably one of the better shows I've ever done in recent memory. Let's just put it that way. Simply because we're actually having a meeting of the minds. We're having a substantive conversation. There's no woman there. It's just me and Fresh, and he's throwing questions at me and I'm answering back. And Hero's there on the couch. It was pretty cool. It was very comfortable. If there's a dog in the room, like Ned's in the room or something like that, I don't know. I feel like I can relate things a little bit better. Thank you for that, Wesley. I appreciate you, brother, man. I was at the Miami White Party yesterday or last night, and if my voice sounds a little whack, it's because I've been doing podcast after podcast and I'm talking to people. I'm trying to shout over loud music, so I tend to lose my voice at the end of these weeks. So but bear with me if I sound a little raspy. But I'm there and I'm talking to guys, and it's crazy to me because I get so much love at these events, right? And it's weird to me because on a daily basis, all I get is hate. And so, like, for me to go out and live in real time and have people say, "Hey, we really appreciate you," it's a good experience. It's a little weird for me. I don't know how to react sometimes. When I have people recognize me in an airport or something, I kind of gotta. I'm only dealing with one person, but like when I've got like a group of people who are like wondering who is that guy, it's a little bit weird sometimes, but in a good way. I don't like, please, I'm very approachable, but it was a good experience. But I wanted to point out, this kind of reminded me of something I'd written about in the past. I was talking to Fresh, and we were talking about like the state of the manosphere, and we were talking about how what's becoming of the red pill, and it was almost like a follow-up to that show that I pulled the clip from. I play it on this show quite a bit, where I made the prediction back in March of 2021 about is the red pill going mainstream? And I said, I hope not. I didn't say it wouldn't, but I said I hope it wasn't, because it needs to stay at least somewhat obscure. It needs to remain somewhat underground, because otherwise people end up turning it into their own sort of little private army, right? They turn it into their own pet ideology. So whatever they believe that's the red pill. I've always believed it. I've been smarter than you for a longer time than you, right? It's almost like this self-affirmation. And it's exactly what I was saying back in the day, why we shouldn't do that. But one of the things we also covered during that conversation was this sort of a new crop, I think, of red pill critics who tend to rely on evolutionary psychology, and they think that we're gonna bring down the red pill by making a straw man out of the red pill, and then we're gonna try to bring it down with stats and research that we do ourselves as like personal Twitter polls and shit like that, or else it's gonna be like ancient data sets from like 1994. And I think you guys know who the usual suspects are here. We're talking about Mac and Murphy. We're talking about Alex from Datesite. We're talking about, Will Costello. And those are just the easy ones to remember. There's a few others I really wish I remembered. But the long and the short of it is that there's people who are building sort of personal brands based on trying to challenge, which I welcome, but like trying to challenge certain aspects of the red pill. But the problem is that in the challenge, it's apparent and very evident that they don't know what they're talking about. Recently there was Alex from DatePsych was talking some bullshit about like what was it, shyness or something like that, shy guy syndrome or some shit like that, from like way back, like almost like a research set of data from like 35, 38 years ago. I'm like, dude, like, do you have anything more recent? Because he's trying to make a comparison saying it's like the shy guy thing was the I don't know, the proto incel movement. And I'm like, you have no earthly idea what the fuck you're talking about. And it's evident to anybody who has any even like marginal history in any of this, because the quote unquote incels just basically an invective now anyways. It's just an insult. It's like saying you're a perma virgin, right? It's like saying you're a loser, right? That's all. You're never going to get laid. You're going to be a virgin for the rest of your life. You're the 40-year-old virgin. That's really what it comes down. It's just, all it is just you're a guy that I would never fuck, and so therefore that's my insult to you, right? And that's all incel means right now. But it didn't used to. There used to be I want to say it was back in like 2010 or 2012. There's forums. What is it? The True Force Loneliness forums, and that's where incel came from. That's where the term incel came from. Volcel, chincel, femcel, whatever cell, fuck cell. I have no idea. But like the term incel itself was an evolution from the True Force Loneliness guys on that forum, and they were I can remember this too, is back in when 4chan was 4chan. There was the Forever Alones, right? And they were the guys who would go to the TFL, True Force Loneliness forums, and from there, that's where incel kind of developed, and then people picked up on it and like incel, blah 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 blah. But that's where. Oh, hey man, thank you very much. Greetings from the plains of Colorado, where I don't have my soundboard. But I do appreciate your very generous super chat, which gives me hope that perhaps like maybe they've taken the limitations off of super chats now. I just bought my new house away from all the woke, big open skies and silence. Rollo, been reading and listening since 2017, where your work took me from a destroyed self-deletion state after a breakup to a self-focused gym rat and my own four walls. Thanks, Rollo. You are more than welcome, brother man. I'm not using the Osmo today because DJI Osmo, please get your shit together, because there's that disconnection problem in the USB line. I went and I looked this up, and it's apparently everybody's experiencing it too. But I do happen to have an iPhone 16, and it does pretty good 4K or really high res imagery. So I'm actually kind of happy with this one. But yeah, thanks, Roy. Roy K. Thank you, man. I much appreciate it. I'm glad for you. It's funny to me that I'll go to these events, or if I'm even if I'm traveling, I haven't really traveled much further than like say Los Angeles and San Diego recently. I've been staying mostly on the West Coast, but here I'm going to the East Coast. And shout out to the guy that hit me up on the plane. I had a guy, I was making the transition from Austin to Miami, because I flew in from Vegas to Austin. I got on the plane, and I'm just kind of sitting there minding my own business, and people are getting on the plane, and I had this one brother come up to me. He goes, "Dude, I love your work. You saved my life. I just wanted to let you know, just out of the blue." Like I'm just sitting there while on my iPad, and I look up, and there's this guy here. But it's like instances like that like make me keep doing what I'm doing. And then also, Roy, thank you for your generous super chat, because this is why I do this. You know, it's not the money, and as far as, you know, I mean, I'm glad you guys like my work well enough to sort of support me and keep, you know, have a decent, you know, standard of living, I guess. But in fact, I had this conversation with Fresh. It's like the guys who are about it, the guys who have been about the red pill, they're still here and they're not going anywhere. And I'm not going anywhere. And, you know, I've always joked and said, hey, you know what? I can't pivot out of the red pill. I might be able to do a fishing channel at some point. I might even try it, but and I'll joke with you for a second. Get it. All right. This is probably only important to me, but I went on a fishing charter on Thursday with the guys from Reignite, 5 other guys from Reignite, Jim Kilgore, Harold, Steve, I don't want to give the last names, and Albert, and then Russ. We all were on this fishing charter. We killed it, absolutely killed it. We came back with 12 Dorado, which is dolphin, which is mahi-mahi. Came back with, we got into a school of mahi-mahi, and just, we actually came back with a dozen, but we probably got into 20 or maybe twice that. That was what we could keep. I actually got my first, where'd it go? I got my first sailfish. And so when this is something I am knocking off my bucket list, because I've always wanted to catch a billfish, whether it's marlin or sailfish was okay with me. You can see more pictures and more like video and stuff on my Instagram, but I've never caught a sailfish in my life, and that was the first time I ever did that. And so it was a unique experience for me to do that. You can't bring them; they're not really necessarily good eating, but it was about a 7.5 foot sailfish. And they tag it, and then you get the flag. And so I got what they do is if you catch a sailfish, they put it up the mast, and so when you're coming into port, they know what you caught. And so that's the sailfish that I got. I also got a tuna. I got a blackfin tuna as well. If you see the picture of me with I look like a murder scene where I've got like blood all over me, that was the tuna, because the tuna bleeds like crazy. But thought it was funny because like Ryan Stone was commenting on Twitter about some guy who was sort of this, again, an incel or some kind of loser who was on Tinder and got no dates or whatever. And they were criticizing the guy for being overweight, which he was. And, showing off fishing pictures on his Instagram, which of course all women say that they get the ick from. And so I'm like, I started posting my pictures and me, catching. So I don't have any problem with women and my fishing pictures somehow. I'm not really sure. But it was fun. It was a good time. But that's one of the things we do in Reignite. So when we do events like this, we usually make a 4-day event out of it. And so we go and do stuff such as going deep sea fishing, which was fantastic. So just letting you know. But getting back to my point, when you look at research right now, I think a lot of guys rely too much on like old school or maybe even new data. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I use, like Mike Sartain and myself use hard data from research studies all the time, especially if there's something new that sort of relates to something we've talked about in the past. We're right there. We're Johnny on the spot with that. So, or Perplexity. If we use like AI, to look up stats and figures and research and data and stuff like that, all bets are off, man. We use whatever we want. But you have to remember that there's 2 ways to gather data. And one of those ways is, of course, in the lab, right? You're going to do a survey. And those are, depending on controlling for variables and everything else, if you're dealing with people who are doing self-reporting and stuff, there's always going to be that kind of margin for error within the methodology of the study itself. And so it's technically, if you're doing surveys and things like that, it's technically what would be called a lab study, right? The other way of gathering data is to go into the field. And this is that's why I was joking about like Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall, Gorillas in the Mist, where you go out into the field and you observe the behavior in the field. And the reason why they do that is because of what's called the observer effect. And the observer effect is that observing a process changes the process. And so when you have people who are in a lab setting, or even if they're just taking a survey, on some level of consciousness, there's this sort of unspoken realization that people are watching you while you're taking the test, or they're going to be able to figure out it was you who said certain answers, right? There's the by order of degree, it's the observer effect. And the thing is when you go into the field and you observe the behavior of the gorillas, right, or the behavior of the humans and stuff like that, the key is to be as invisible as possible so that you can watch the behavior, so that you're having watched that behavior doesn't spoil the process. And so that's why you've got, like, you've got researchers out in the bush, with binoculars and everything, keeping a safe distance so that the animals or whatever that you're observing aren't aware of your presence. Now, they're probably going to smell you. There's probably some sort of, there's probably some way that they're going to find out that you're there. But controlling for all of those variables is part of that methodology. And I don't think enough people realize that you can use that same methodology for human behavior as you can use it for animal behavior as well. So you're looking at lab research and you're looking at in-field research. And I think that when you look at these guys who are hypercritical of the red pill and they're hypercritical of all this stuff, they say, well, these guys don't have any research. These guys don't make any inroads into actual, evolutionary psychology. I'm like, bullshit. Like, we're out here doing the in-field research. I think it was what Nick Krauser was the guy. I've used this quote a million times and I'm going to paraphrase it really quickly, but Nick Krauser, who was a consummate pickup artist back in his day. I don't think he's in the game anymore, but consummate pickup artist at the time. And what he said is that, pickup, PUA and game, this is the seduction community, has done more and has gathered more data in the last 15 years than psychology has been able to gather in the last 150 years, because they don't have the same ethical, limitations that that researchers would have in the field, going into in-field stuff. And you also have to remember that since the sexual revolution, the environment has changed. So if you had data that was taken, like saying the Kinsey reports and stuff like that, if you had data that was taken back in the 1950s and 1960s, a lot of that is just simply irrelevant in a post-sexual revolution world. And so when we talk about how people are going to say, oh, it's moral degeneracy and it's all this stuff. Yeah, okay, you can add a moral element to it if that's what you feel like you need to do. But the fact of the matter remains is that we have unfettered hypergamy. We have a different, sexual marketplace, a different dating relationship, human connection landscape than we did back then. And we need to be able to observe that in the field just as much as we need to be able to see it live in real time or in research data, in lab style methodology. So whenever I hear these guys talking about, well, this data here and this data here, and yeah, you're dealing with, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but you're dealing with one methodology. And that methodology happens to be a lab research survey style gathering of information, instead of going into the clubs, going into social situations and observing and watching what's going on. And as far as I know, I'm the only one that's been doing this for the last 20 some odd years, right? And again, am I doing this out of the interest of oh, I'm going to write a book and write gorillas, humans in the mist? I'm not doing that for that intent or that purpose. But it reminded me, especially last night at the Babes in Toyland white party, I'm not drinking. I don't drink, right? So when I'm talking to people and I'm having fun, I'm having, I'm interacting, being social and everything like that. But when I'm going from area to, I'm making my laps around the scene, I'm making mental notes as I'm going along and I'm watching this happen. And I'm going to tell you some things that are going to fucking blow your mind tonight, because yeah, humans in the club. There you go. Thanks, you, Jones. Yeah, it's I watched last night what shouldn't fucking happen. And I hate to, it's going to sound like I'm glossing myself or I'm tooting my own horn about a Reignite, But some of these guys that I have been working with in my Reignite program right now, especially like I don't want to sell him out, but there's one guy that I've been working with really since he's been in my Patreon group for quite some time, but almost 2 years now. And I have seen a radical change in this guy, and to the better, and is becoming far more successful in his social skills and his social interactions. I watched a guy last night, and I'm not going to sell him out, but I'm just going to, he's going to know who I'm talking about. I watched a guy last night who's part of our group do what Mac and Murphy says no one can do. I watched him do what Alex from Date Psych would have ridiculed anyone else for. I watched this guy do what everybody says, oh, he must have paid for those chicks. He must have, like, there's whatever you pick your cope, right? But I watched a 61-year-old man get after it and pick up with a 40, I think she was probably mid-40s woman last night, very attractive. And I'm watching this happen live in real time. And I watched him go from sort of being sort of social, a little bit socially awkward and not really, he's sociable. He understands, he's got social skills and everything, but he had to relearn skills again. 61 years old, getting with a 45-year-old girl. About 45. I think she's mid 40s. Or I have watched a guy in his 50s get with a 25-year-old girl, and not because it's, oh, let's make it rain. No, I watched this happen live in real time. And when all these guys say, oh yeah, these guys just, Rob Henderson, when Rob Henderson says, oh, these guys are just trying to convince themselves that they still got it. They do. That's just a problem. Like when we start talking about like age differences, like really 20-year gap age differences, like the guy who's 61 getting with the 45-year-old, people kind of like, they give that a little bit more leeway because they're at different phases in their life. It's still over almost a 20-year difference, right? If you look at a guy who's in his 50s getting with a 25-year-old girl, it's about a 25-year difference. I see it happen constantly. I see it happening. And it's not because these guys are super good, definitely not super good looking, right? They just have game. They're just on the spot. They're very good at conversation. And I will tell you that it is great for me to see these guys go from being sort of socially awkward to changing those skills and being able to be successful in their interactions with women. And I see it happen. It's observational. It's in-field research. It's not like, oh, tell us why you fucked this 61-year-old guy. There's no surveys. There's nothing like that. And of course, what's going to happen is everybody's going to say, oh, it's cope. It's just he's paying. They'll find any reason. But I know personally, because I know these guys and I know the chicks that they got with, and I see the interactions, and I see it happen and unfold in real time. And I will tell you right now, when people say, oh, these guys are selling you this, blowing sweet sunshine up your ass and saying, oh yeah, if you're older, it doesn't matter. No, it just depends on what your skills are. It depends on playing to your strengths. I'm 57 years old, and this is me at 57 years old. So when I see these guys talking shit about, the red pill, they don't know what they're talking about. They have no earthly idea. And you know why they have no earthly idea? Because they're not in the clubs. They're not at events like this. They don't do this stuff. And if they were there live in real time, in fact, I would love very much to grab any one of these guys, invite them to come out to any of these events and say, here it's happening in real time. What the fuck do you say? What do you have to say about this? And I'll guarantee you, none of them will take me up on that challenge. None of them will, or they'll find some sort of rationale. Oh, it's because he's got money, or she thinks he has money, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I'm watching it unfold in real time. And I've seen, again, I'm not going to sell the dudes out, but I know a guy who's a very good friend of mine, and he's been on my show before, 58 years old, was regularly getting with girlfriends that were in their mid to late 20s. Now is getting with a woman who is in her early 40s, I believe, because he's decided that he wants to have something that's a little bit more long-term, monogamous, right? Oh my God, those red pill guys, they don't care about long-term monogamy. No, I care about what you want to do with your life. I care about what you want to do and what you want to build with the tools and education and the equipment that I give you. I want you to show me your work. If you read any of them, and that's just it. Nobody reads the books, right? But if you read any of my books, if you read the introductions or the ends of any of my books, I want to know what you built with it. Because I'm not giving you a 7-step plan or 12 rules for life or anything like that. I'm telling you, here, I'm going to give you the paints. I'm going to give you the palette knife. I'm going to give you the brushes. I'm going to give you the turpentine. I'm going to give you the easel. And the canvas that's on the easel is your life. And I want to see what you do and what you paint on that. I'm trying to be in an artistic analogy, but I want to see. Yes, he fished with me. You are correct, Joe. Actually, both of those guys fished with me. And we're growing. We have more guys on this trip than we've ever had before. And most of the guys that we are working with are anywhere from their mid 30s into their, well, like I said, 60s. So we're really doing something. We're moving. I think we've hit on something that's going to be significant. And I'm happy to say that I'm doing this live in real time, and it's like boots on the ground. It's not just writing. It's not just podcast. Those guys are just podcasters. There's your clip. Those guys are just podcasters. No, we're way more than that. And that's what frightens the fuck out of these guys, because they're one-trick ponies. All they have is just criticism. It's like, are you out there helping guys? Or what do you do? What are you doing to help other guys? What are you doing that's benefiting other men? What are you doing with the 61-year-old guy that's getting him laid with a 45-year-old woman? What are you doing? I'm all ears. Please tell me. Tell me how you have positively affected men's lives as a result. Because I can show you example after fucking example. And I can show you, I can show you a thread on one of my old blog posts. There's 1,100 guys with testimony saying how the red pill and what my writing and what I've done has bettered their lives. And I'm glad to see this, because that's the kind of love I was getting last night at the white party. So when I'm talking to these guys, they're just like, oh, they're introducing me to their girlfriends who have no clue, no earthly idea who I am. They're like, this guy has bettered my life. The only reason I'm with you is with him. Kind of. I'm like, well, don't tell her that. Yeah, it's quite the experience to see guys. And by the way, watch it happen in real time, and then have other guys come up to me at the parties and at these events, or hell, just walking down the street of Brickell. Guys want to stop me. I would. Oh gosh, I don't even know if I should say it, but I'm going to anyways. I did a walk along video, like with the DJI Osmo, with Mike and Fresh. And I think we did this on Wednesday before we did the show. And we were walking around Brickell and just doing one of these sort of on the street kind of walk through. And he was just asking questions of me and Fresh. And they weren't even really red pill questions. It was just sort of like, how do you, what do you attribute to your success? Mike's kind of leaning a little bit more towards the Tai Lopez stuff with some of these walk-alongs. And so we're going along, and we were interrupted 3 times on just walking up and down Brickell, because everybody wanted to stop me and shake my hand. And I don't know if they'll leave it in the video, because it was kind of it was a little bit of a distraction, but I thought it was kind of funny, because it's like I'm Fresh is pretty well known in Brickell, right? But I thought it was kind of funny to see that. As far as a German translation, do I have a German translation? No, I do have a German translation. You'd have to go look at. I think it might be on Amazon. If you have questions, by the way, please throw them out there. I would prefer a super chat, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Have I checked out any of Jedediah Bila's stuff? Yeah. Oh, that's CG. You already know that. Yeah, Jed's. I'm happy to say she was on the show last week. It was pretty awesome. I like Jed. Jed wants. I'm still trying to convince Jed to come out to Vegas. I want her to come and see the studio and do stuff live here. She's never going to leave Texas. She's already kind of established in Texas right now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There you go. What else do I have here? I saw one other one come in. Oh, thanks, man. Win roll. I'll tell you the thing that's funny is, and thank you for the compliments. Whenever I'm on Myron and Fresh's show, I try not to watch the comments until after the show is over. Like I'll go back and review the show just to see, like, because I want to see what I said, and like, especially when I did the show with Fresh on Friday, which, like I said, was a really great show. I wanted to see what everybody else was sort of commenting about, like what were the comments. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I know they're like, you guys in my chat. I mean, there's a few crossovers, I'm sure, but the Fresh and Fits chat, I've gotten to the point where I've realized that they don't know who I am, or they only like peripherally know who I am. And so I can go there and drop gems on Fresh's podcast, and I think I did pretty well. I think I was pretty spot on for like an hour and a half for that whole show. And what's funny to me is, like, I'm getting into some like pretty deep shit, and then the only thing anybody has to say is, this guy's really old. What's this old guy doing? Where's Myron, El Rollo? It's like that. I was talking about the word cringe. I'm like, yeah, the word cringe is cringe. Can we move on? Can we like find something else to sort of like to take the place of the word cringe or corny? Like, corny is something like we didn't even use in the 80s, man. Like, that's like from the 50s. But I look in the chat is much. I mean, I get my spammers and stuff like here too, but like the chat is much different on Fresh and Fit than it is on my channel or other channels that I've been on in the past. But it's always it's never a critique or a criticism of what I'm saying. It's always, why does he wear that beanie? Well, what's wrong with him? He's old. And I'm like, would you take it differently if some guy who was like 14 years old came on and said the same thing? Then you would be okay with it? Like, nobody does. And it's like, listen to the substance, right? Listen to the substance. And when you look at the stuff like, and I love Myron like a brother. So just, there's no bad blood, but people keep thinking there's bad blood, but there's not. He'll be the first one to admit that, a good portion of their show, or a good portion of what they've done to this point, has been inspired because of the Rational Male. And the same thing with Jedediah Bila. Same thing with Adam, who I saw last night, by the way. I finally got big ups to Adam Sosnick. I actually saw him in person yesterday. And yeah, he's pretty much done with the red pill. He's not. I doubt he'll be coming back to the Sosnick shows with the girls on the panels and stuff like that, and primarily because of Patrick Bet-David asking him to back off for that. What do you say here? What are your plans for the Rational Male 1971? You also deserve your flowers. Thanks. If I did, well, what's funny about 1971 is it's based on there's actually a Twitter profile or Twitter account called What Happened in 1971. And it's these guys who just collect all of these sort of really substantial data points that began in 1970, 1971, right around that area. And of course, they started this primarily because it was 1971 is when we went off the gold standard. I think that's when we went off the gold standard. And then from there, it used to be an economic thing. And I saw this and I'm going, hot damn, look at the gender side of this as well. Like, if you go and you look at women having, what was it? In 1974. In 1974, women were allowed, finally, women were allowed to have lines of credit. I'm like, that's not because the feminists fought tooth and nail for it. That's because the credit companies finally could give it to them because they were standardizing on a fiat currency, courtesy of us going off the gold standard in 1971. I will throw that in any feminist's face, like on whatever podcast, if they ever pit me against some sort of foaming at the mouth feminists, that's where trust me, ladies, that's the first place I'm going to go. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I think a lot of women who like sort of self-identify as feminists right now, don't understand the history of feminism. If I ask them, do you know what I'm a feminist. Okay. Do you know what the convention of 1848 with Katie Stanton was? Do you know that? Because that's really where the suffragette movement began. It was in Seneca Falls, New York. There's only 300 people there, right? But that's really sort of the birthplace. If you follow the history, that's really the birthplace of the suffragette movement, which was the inception of the feminist movement, right? And then, so if you look at that as, I think it was 1848 or 1849. And then, so like round that off. So 1850 until 1920, which is when August 18th, 1920 is when the 19th Amendment was ratified. I know that I've committed that to memory. I've studied this stuff, and I probably know feminist, quote unquote, feminist history better than most feminist self-identifying feminists know their history. They simply don't. And so when anybody says to me like, first wave feminism, second wave feminism, they're like, first wave feminism was the good feminism. No, it wasn't. It's the same fucking thing since 1849 from Seneca Falls. Because if you go and you look at the list of grievances from Seneca Falls, they sound an awful lot like a supremacism movement. And in fact, from about 1850 until 1920, when women were trying to quote unquote get the vote, you got to remember that's not just an American thing. It was also over in the UK. It was also over in Western Europe as well. And they considered feminist women terrorists back then, because they would plan bombings and assassination attempts, and they would bomb police precincts. There is a really great book, and I think it's called like the Suffragette Bombers. And if you read through that, you'll understand like the way that feminism used to be considered, and now they say the silent part out loud. There's no reason to cover up. It is a supremacism movement, and has been from the inception. But if you can turn it into waves and say, well, these feminists were good and these were kind of good, and then the third wave feminists, they're awful, right? We want votes for first wave feminism. We want votes for women, and then second, we want equal rights for women, and third, we want men to be women, or what? Like you've probably seen that stupid meme. No, it's the same movement. It's exactly the same thing. It's only been interrupted by wars and civil unrest and the Bolshevik movement and all this other shit that's, all the communists and everything else that went along. Like the feminist movement has not changed fundamentally from from its charter ever. But they needed votes, and then of course we had the sexual revolution as a result of the pill. And that's really what kind of like let the floodgates open, an unfettered hypergamy, which I think a lot of people don't realize, especially guys in the critics, right? The guys who want to straw man the red pill. Guys like this really want to, like I said, want to bring down the red pill, or like I saw that guy, by the way, on the Whatever podcast going up against Andrew Willson. And by the way, thanks, Andrew, if you're watching. Thanks for giving the flowers there, but the guy you were up against simply doesn't know what he's talking about. In fact, I would have just used Socratic method with that guy. We're just like, what do you know? Who do you know? How long? What do you think the red pill is? Like, give me the description. Tell me what you think it is. I guess he kind of did that in his own way, but you're never going to have a substantive debate, even for what conversation, because debate is dead. But you're not going to have a substantive conversation with a guy like that, because he's already committed to the trail, right? There's no backing up for him. What do we got? Hang on. So just to follow up on that, in 1971, I have to kind of go in and pick and pull the parts that because there's parts of the 1971 sort of research stuff that's part of that Twitter account that are relevant to sort of gender issues. Because remember, I don't do politics, I don't do economics, I don't do religion, I don't do ethno-nationalism, I don't do race or anything like that in and of itself. I only do that if there's like a crossover between the red pill. And so that's kind of what I have to do with the 1971 data. And there's a lot of data to parse. So as soon as I'm done with the Reignite book, I'll probably go to that. It'll be a much smaller book. It'll probably be about the size of preventive medicine, which is like 250, 260 pages. It won't be that big a thing. It'll be mostly data driven, so that I want to do it because I want to have a reference to give to guys and say, like, you know, if I look at the correlation, say, between the increase in use of hormonal birth control from 1965 on, onto the mid 90s, whatever, and you look at the rise in divorce rates that tracks almost identically with that. I realize correlation isn't causation, but that's a hell of a fucking correlation. I want to be able to say, okay, here's the data set, black and white. It's in my book. If you want to read it, if you want to get my sort of my interpretation of that data, then I'm going to tell you how I perceive this. I want to be able to have something concrete to give to people, and I want them to be able to read it and also give it to other people as well. So it's still a work in progress. I plan on following through with it. It's just like I have other things that took priority over it. Thoughts on hitting on a girl who's working like a cashier. Also thoughts on giving your girl your number instead of asking for hers. Does anybody actually give numbers anymore? I did not. I got probably, how many? Last night, I'm going to sound really bad. I think I got probably about a dozen different girls' Instagrams last night as a result of you guys buffing me out. Thank you very much. But I'm collecting them in the interests of getting them on the show on Access Vegas. I'm a man of God. But all my intents are pure. But not one of them is going to give me their phone number. I'm not going to give them mine either. So I think really kind of like the phone number, get those digits is kind of like, that's really 20th century. Now, as far as the girl who's the cashier, remember the girl's working. So if you have a girl who's a cashier and you're in line, how many people are behind you? You know, you have to be, I told my guys this for the Reignite group. I said, you have to be, read the environment, read the situation, be situationally aware, read the situation, and then read the girl. Those are the three things you have to prioritize before you're going to make an approach. Okay. Where am I? What's happening where I am? And who is this girl that I would, to my best of my knowledge, or best of my interpretations, like it's called cold reading. If I can cold read this girl, and it's like, even if I'm like, 40% accurate, at least it gives me an opportunity to, even if I fuck up, my presumptiveness is still something that's a conversation starter. But if you can even be like 40 or 50% accurate in your cold read, that will at least open up a conversation thread for you. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I think you should get you should always default to game. I think you should get your chops in, but again, read the situation. So if you've got 10 people in line behind you at Walmart or wherever it is, like she's a barista, who knows? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Just if you're going to do that, flirt with her for a little bit and then move on. Like if that's the case, if you have more time, if it's just you and her, then you got a little bit more leeway. So doing that approach, making that opening might be a little bit easier if it doesn't seem like you're bothering her, right? Because if she's working as a cashier and you're in line and you're talking to her and there's 10 people that are waiting to get their coffee or whatever, or to order their shit, then she's going to see you as sort of an annoyance. But if you got good game and you have, you got a little bit more leeway or time in that situation, as I said, you have to read the situation, read the environment, and then read the girl. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think you should always default to game. And I think what's funny is whenever we use the term like hitting on a girl or approaching a girl, like guys get really like itchy under the fucking collar whenever you use terms like that. I would never go after a girl. I'm too cool for that. I have more self-respect for myself than to try to get a girl to like me. Don't chase women, chase excellence, And That's just cope, man. If you want to play the game, you have to go out and actually do it. And there's nothing wrong with fucking doing that. You'll hear all these dumb bitches talk about like, oh, I want a guy to, come and ask me out. It's so much better if they do it live in real time. And then of course, every guy who's got every black pill doomer and every incel is going to go, yeah, but then you'll get like sexual harassment charges or something like that. And it's like, no, you're just being a human being, right? I have this. I'm going to show you this one video here. That this is, in fact, I'll do it right now. This is probably like the worst nightmare for guys. This is what they think will happen to them all the time. Here we go. Watch this. This is pretty funny. Oh, damn it. Hold on. I gotta pull one of these. Hold on a second. Let's pull out the tomato girl. I can only show you 10 at a time, and I didn't delete any of these. Hang on. Okay, now I can do it. All right, so watch this. This is what guys think will happen if they make an approach.
The girls only table. Yeah, I'm asking you to leave. I'm respectfully asking you to go to another table. There are plenty of tables, like there's that one over there that you guys could go to. Because I'm not, go away.
It's true.
Go. Begging, on my knees, go.
It's just like
it's our table.
It's just weird for you to just sit down with us. Like
go to the table where there's no people. Right there. You see that? Guys, there's no one over there. You should go sit there. I think you should go sit there. Look, it's crying. It has no people at its table. You guys need to go over there.
My browser likes your friend.
That's good. We are both in relationships, and I'd love if you'd leave. Go away, please. Go. 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 Do you want me to spill your Guinness on you? Because I will. Go. 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 Go away. I'm asking you to fucking leave. Go. 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 I guess we'll go then. You want our table? We'll fucking go. 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 Leave. I'm asking you to fucking leave. Go. Get away. Witch. 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 Go.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when guys don't get the hint. Like this video should never have happened in the first place. You know how you get it? You know how you avoid this situation? You read the environment, you read the room, you read the girls. That's how you avoid this stupid shit. And you know what? This goes viral on TikTok because these guys don't get. And I'll tell you what's funny is what will happen now. And the only reason I even came across this video in the first place is because people wanted to tell me, see, Rollo, this is what happens when you try to go and you try to make an approach for the girl, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like you guys have no game. You're going and basically putting yourself into these girls' airspace right here. If you're going to make an approach, you're going to you don't just sit there and just look like a wounded animal. There's like, where's the conversation? Where's the riz, man? Where's the game? Where's it's non-existent. And you get to the point where like these girls are just like they're basically middle schoolers anyways. But the problem is like if you read the girls and if you read the environment, you don't go and sit down there anyways because they're not going to be worth your while, especially on a pizza place or some shit like that. Like what the fuck are you doing? But what's going to happen is guys are going to use that video as cope. They're going to say, see, this is what happens. This is what happens when you try to make an approach. This is what happens when you try to start a conversation. This is what happens. So the juice isn't worth the squeeze. These are dumb bitches anyways, blah, 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 blah. And, what are you going to do? Well, there's so many better ways to like, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this video and I'm going to use, because we're going to do Access Vegas on Wednesday this week. I'm going to use this as one of our videos and I'm going to have this conversation with Mike and say, what did these guys do wrong? What do you think? Like, how could these guys have been successful at any of this? He's probably going to say they couldn't, and a lot of guys are going to say, well, they're ugly, and they are. They're not. There's nothing hot about these guys. They seem like they're foreigners. I think I'm not really sure. They probably thought they were going to be better off than they actually are, but we'll see how it goes. I think I'm gonna save this video and we'll discuss it on Access Vegas. As far as just to get back to your point here, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with hitting on, approaching, asking out, whatever you want to call it, a cashier. But just understand that girl is working, and don't think that like you deserve her to stop what she's doing to help you. I'd like to say, hey, yeah, here's my Instagram. I'd love to talk to you later on. There's better ways to do it. And then there's also conversations that you can flirt with a girl without making it seem like you're flirting with that girl. So there you go. Hey, Rollo, thank you for CHD. Hey, Rollo, thank you for, thanks for giving me another chance. I know I was trolling during that time, exposing Pearl and Glenn Lawrence video, but guys like me who were lied to need to hear the truth. I really want to be part of what you and Sartain are doing. That's fine, dude. I no hard feelings, whatever. I just have to, do I need to reiterate one more time? Like, people think that I blackball, people because of Pearl. It's like, no, it's like if you're attached to these guys, it's nothing personal. It's not like I'm, Rollo's such a dick. If you even say that you talk to Pearl, he's gonna block you and put you on a blacklist or something like that. No, I just can't work with you. And I'm not saying you would do anything malicious. It's just like, if I go in, for instance, like I can talk about it now because it's already out. But for instance, Mike and I are featured in this new docu-series that's coming out, and it's called Lonely Fans. I've known about Lonely, obviously, for about a year now because they did the initial interviews of me and Mike, and me and Mike kept it secret for over a year. If I was to talk to you, like at some point, like while this bullshit was going on with Glenn and Pearl, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna be in this docu-series for Lonely Fans. They weren't even calling it Lonely Fans. It was called like No Simp or something. It was like the working title for it. And like, if I'm doing something, if I have some sort of project, if I'm doing Reignite, if I'm planning Reignite, if I'm doing these things, I can't have honest, open conversations with you because I already know that you are in contact with Glenn and Pearl. And so what's going to happen? You might just, as innocuously as possible, just like casually, passively, like mention it, and then they go, "Oh my God, do you know what Rollo's doing? He's doing a documentary. Oh my God, Rollo's doing Reignite. Oh my God, Rollo's writing a new book. Oh my God, Rollo's doing this and da 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 da." We better do it first. We better do it first. We better get out there. We better fucking And it's like, I'm not saying that that's going to be the oh, well, Rollo's paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I'm just saying that shit like that happens all the time. And especially with Pearl, who will never have anybody's best interest but Pearl's in her own interests. So, and Glenn too. So it's not anything personal. It's not like I think you're a dick or I hate you or anything like that. It's just like, I can't talk to you. I can't. But that's why I left the RAR squad. That's why I left Rule Zero. Not because I don't like those guys. I really wish I could. And I fucking hate it because it's like Pearl ruined those relationships. And Glenn, on top of that, exacerbated that. And I know this for a fact because I've seen the chats. I've seen the Twitter DMs. He goes and poisons the well. He goes and if he knows that I'm not working with Kevin Savo, he's going to go, yeah, that Rollo's a real dick, isn't he? Like he works like a little bitch is what he does, and goes in there and starts poisoning relationships because he knows there's some sort of conflict going on there. He goes, yeah, he didn't say anything to me. Like, no, I didn't work with you because you lied to me, you fucking prick. And I don't work with liars, and I don't work with retards, and I don't work with retards who work with retards. Simple as that. So it's nothing personal. Like by the way, I did the same thing with Tiffany Fox. When Tiffany Fox was going on with Pearl and when she was like hanging out with Troy Francis, who I also like quite a bit, but I can't really talk to Troy because I know that I don't know if he's still working with Pearl, but at the time I couldn't talk to him. And Troy's like a brother to me, right? But I can't have conversations with him, or I can't say what I'm planning to do, or I can't say what, what do you I can't bounce ideas off of people who are working with Pearl because I know it will get back to her. And it will, like, put it this way. If Orion Taraban is like ruthlessly plagiarizing my material, right, like within a week's time, directly off of Substack, what do you think Pearl's going to do? People say, well, that sounds very, very paranoid, Rollo. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But I have to be that way. I have to be that way because I've been burned before, and I'm not going to fucking get burned again. And I'm not going to have like the shit that I work and bust my ass for get lifted. It gets lifted anyways. Even with the best of my intentions, it gets lifted anyways. So E. Jones, could the hijacking of chivalry between knights be the first wave of feminism? No, the first wave of well, yes. And if you've read there's actually a whole section on chivalry in my book on religion, on the fourth book on religion. I go through the history of chivalry, the chivalric code, or even you can go to the Bushido code in Japan too, the feudal Japan. It was never intended to include women whatsoever in the code. It was like, don't hit a man when he's down, like, be an honorable opponent. It was about martial virtue is what it was about. And the reason why the chivalric code came up, at least in, medieval Western Europe, well, Eastern Europe too, I guess, but like in Europe, was because guys were killing each other left and right. And there's like, men were literally, like, it was depopulation because there was just barbarism and it was brigandism, right? And so there needed to be an established set of common rules, and that was the chivalric code. And it wasn't until later on in really the late medieval to the early Renaissance period that aristocratic noble women inserted, and you have to defend milady's honor, and then so are all these other rules. When you read the book, you'll get what I'm saying. But that's exactly what I said in the book, is that chivalry back then was feminism 1.0. And we always talk about how men conquer worlds and women conquer men. That was a formalization of women conquering men. You have to do what we tell you because it's for love. The romantic ideal, which, by the way, had a hat tip to Dalrock. He's the one that gave me this idea. The romantic ideal, courtly love, the updated version of chivalry that included women in milady's honor and her favor, and doing all these acts of devotion and stuff like that. All of that came from women, or aristocratic noble women of the late medieval to early Renaissance periods. And it's a holdover. It's a period that we romanticize to this day. And a lot of what we think of as sort of like opening doors for a woman and walking on the right side of the street and everything, like nobody knows where that comes from. Well, would you like me to tell you? The reason why women walk on the inside of the street is not because they're worried about getting hit by a car. That happened long before there were cars. In medieval Europe, was called slops, because there was no indoor plumbing at that time, right? There's no flush the toilet. It was just like you shit in a chamber pot, and they would throw the slops out the windows into the streets, right? And what would happen is if you were on the outside of the street, the odds are you're going to get splashed by shit and piss and everything else. So milady had to be on the inside so she wouldn't get her frock and her nice clothing messed up, and the man was the one that was more likely to get shit and piss, the slops like splashing on him. That's the original. Like, people will say there's variations of it, but originally that's where that came from. There's chivalry for you. There's feminism 1.0 for you. Love last week's Jed Talk. I have, thanks, Rational Trucker. I have an example of wealth enforces will. Began trucking. I four times my income to 100K. Wife became, dare I say, more submissive. Shocking how that happens. Yeah. By the way, I-90 exit 41, New York. There's a women's national rights park. Of course there is. There's no men's national rights. Are you kidding? Men have to establish the national rights park for women. What do we need men for? Yeah, it's funny. Even just the appearance of money, having made a little bit more. I've always told guys, I said, you're basically 100,000. There's no problem that your wife has that $100,000 more per year won't solve. Suddenly you're a swell guy. Right? Now, you got the guy who goes and he builds that house from scratch, like in the video, builds that house from scratch, which is I want him to build my house, man. That's a fucking badass house in the inside, right? The guy, his dream, his American dream, he's just basically giving up on himself, because he did, like that guy in the video with the house that he built and the land he bought. think about what it takes to buy that kind of land, do that kind of buy the material, because there's material costs that go with that. Do the work yourself. That's a pretty industrious motherfucker, right? That's a guy who knows what he's doing. And what gets me is you'll hear women talk all the time like, I want a guy who's competent. That guy's competent. This guy has the competency to do that stuff. He's got kids. He's already pre-selected. He's already had children and everything. He's like showing you the height charts of the, the thing on the door jamb there. The guy has got pre-selection. Well, yeah, for sure. Now, what do you like? I posted that video on Twitter. What do you think the response was to that from women? Like, guys were like, "Oh, see, this is very typical. Very typical." It's not really typical because most guys don't have that skill set. Let's just be honest. That guy is exceptional in what he does, but he's doing it because, like, at least his initial sort of impetus is because this is my dream. This is what I want to do, and the reason why that video kind of spoke to me is because that's exactly the type of guy that my brother-in-law, who ended up deleting himself, he was just like that. He learned how to do all of that stuff himself. He never went to, remember, there was no YouTube. They didn't have videos showing you how to hang drywall. You had to figure it out for yourself or go to a class at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. Or you had to figure it out on your own. You had to have some tradesmen like show you how to do it. I can remember him using a backhoe on this property that he had bought because once he was an empty nester, he had the same dream. He wanted to have this nice place. Granted, my wife's sister is very attractive, right? So he was definitely batting out of his league. But all of the stuff that he built, I'm surprised this guy hasn't self-deleted or considered self-deleting. Because what happens is when a guy has that sort of as his vision, saying, I'm going to have these children, I'm going to send them to college, I'm going to do everything the right way. I'm going to do everything, do the right thing. I'm going to do everything that anybody told me was the right thing to do. And he did. This guy, as far as I can tell, he might be an alcoholic fuck. I don't know. But it didn't seem that way. Not so like a guy who's like has substance abuse problems or has anger issues or whatever, because that's, of course, initially that's what all the women in the Twitter thread think. Well, we don't know anything about this guy. He might be a complete asshole. He might be a jerk, and that's why she left him. And I'm just like, but look at his dream. Look at what he put together. And granted, it might have been that he was trying to keep a girl who was out of his league by creating that dream, by creating that environment, creating that house, literally building that house himself, building a family himself. He had a chicken coop. He had like blueberries. He had like a barn. He had the house. And on the outside, he's like, I painted this, whatever. But like, if you look in the inside, it is a very modern house. And the bathroom, my God, it's like a walk-in closet with like two like shower things that are in there. Like, I want that. And I couldn't do that. I don't know too many people who could. Maybe Jake could. Jake, our drummer from Jinx, Jake, shout out to Jake. He could probably do that. I can't. I mean, I'm good at like doing like cedar siding, but other than that, I can't like put tile or hang drywall. I would have to really pay attention and learn. But to be a competent guy, I mean, the guy's very, very competent. It's like, so why would a chick leave? And the only answer that these people have, the only answer that the common Twitter woman has is that he must be a narcissist. There must be something wrong with him, because no woman would leave that unless the guy has some sort of personality flaw. And I was like, no, it could be that the guy was just overly committed to that girl. Same thing with what Dave Portnoy, not Mike Portnoy. Sorry, I made that mistake. I Dream Theater and then Barstool Sports. Those are two different guys, okay? Not Mike. Dave Portnoy. Somebody told me he should have stuck to like doing pizza reviews. But Dave Portnoy was, the very fact that his wife or his ex-wife still has access to his bank account and all that other stuff. And Shannon Sharp is just sitting there shaking his head. And Shannon Sharp ain't got no leg to stand on in the first place, let's be honest. But as far as like, staring down his nose at Dave, but Dave is like, you got to remember that money is no insulation from a beta mindset. Money is no insulation from like your blue pill conditioning. And I would tell him to his face, Dave, you're a beta, you're blue pill. There's no way on planet Earth you should be in that position. Oh, it's about trust. No, it's not. You just don't want to offend her. She probably has something on him. Like people were saying, she's probably got some sort of leverage on him, which could be the case. But again, why would a guy do that? Why would any woman leave a guy like the house guy, right? Why? Well, let's insert whatever our imaginings happen to be. It could just be the fact that the guy was just overly clingy, or the guy was just overly committed to his wife, and she found the pool boy. She was provided with everything she could ever want. Well, maybe he got with a chick who's just a city girl and she doesn't want to live on some ranch somewhere, which I think is kind of sad, because I listen to all these girls on our podcast and whatever podcast, and even on Fresh and Fit and some other, TikTok, whatever the fuck. And they're like, oh, I would love to live on a ranch. I would love to live on a farm somewhere. That's my dream, is to, put on a Amish frock and churn butter all day and have like 6 babies. Like, get the fuck out of here. You wouldn't last half an hour on that. You'd be begging to go back to Vegas. You'd be begging to go back to Miami. And that's what kills me about this. The girls who are going to be in those situations are already there. So don't go on Fresh and Fit or whatever, or our show, and say like, oh, I would really love to do it. No, you wouldn't, because you're on this show. I mean, maybe when you hit 40, okay, but then how convenient, right? What do we have here? Voluntarily been a virgin for 26 years, voluntarily. Ready to finally prioritize changing that. Well, I can help you if you come to Nevada. Well, I will 100% guarantee you will lose your V card if you come to Nevada. And I won't even charge you that much. Let's see. Come to Nevada with $800. I'll take 300 of it as a finder's fee, and then we will go to the brothels and we'll do brothel game. And I guarantee you with 100% certainty, you will lose your virginity. Do I tell the first woman I have an opportunity with, I have no experience, or let her figure it out in the bedroom? Do not bring that up. There's no reason to. And then second of all, let her figure that out. It's not sweet. It's not like, oh, she's going to take pity on you. No, if you're going to get to that point, I don't know what you want. Like, here's the thing is, it's really difficult for me to give you any kind of advice. Like, I'm not the advice guy anyways, but I'll give you the analysis. It's really difficult for guys to, for virgin guys to give the appearance of having any kind of experience. 26 years, am I to believe that you are 26 years old and you're still a virgin? Is that what the message I'm supposed to get here? Because if that's the case, you didn't voluntarily make that decision. You made that decision, maybe if you made that decision at all. Most guys, like guys who don't fuck, don't make the decision not to fuck. Okay. Put it this way, if a chick came to you at 24 and she was hot as fuck and she looked like half of the girls in fucking Miami right now, you would fuck. Trust me, you would fuck. Oh, well, I've decided that I'm celibate now, but now I've decided that I want to fuck. No, I had no opportunity, and now I want to create that opportunity. At least be honest. I'm more than happy to help you in that case, but be honest with yourself. Let's see, in 26 years, have you jerked off to porn? Odds are you probably have, right? So that was not a choice I'm never going to look at a girl. I'm never going to look at a naked woman ever in my life. It's okay. Own it, man. It's all right. It's like, I'm 26 years old and I'm a virgin. I want to lose my V card. Say no more. Let's go. Like, that's much, like, at least I know you're being honest with yourself in those situations. Rational Agent 47. Okay, not Rational Trucker. Hey, what kind of leverage do you see in the dating market if I no longer have a family, no parents or siblings? Okay, so you're like an orphan, only some distant relatives because everyone else passed away. Is that really the case, or is this just a hypothetical? Okay, being the last man standing was tough. Strength helped me survive. Well, it's funny. I don't have. I'm not exactly in that same situation. My father passed away in 2010. My mother passed away in 2020, and tragically, as you know, so technically I'm an orphan, right? I do have a brother. I have a younger brother. People don't know that about him. Would you like? Maybe that's what we should do for the AMA and ask me anything, whatever. Like, does Rollo have any brother? Yeah, I have one brother, one younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me, and he's my only blood relative, my living blood relative, except for I guess you could say my niece and my nephew, and then my daughter, I guess, so she's half of me, anyways. So I tend to, when I think of family, I think of my brother, obviously, but like my family is really, my extended family is my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife's side of the family. So when people say, I'm going to go spend time, if I say I'm going to spend time with family, I mean my wife's family, because I don't have any other than my brother. So, but as far as it being like freeing or leveraging, I think one of the things is like you could say, the thing is, I wouldn't lead with something like that. Because I don't think it's necessarily relevant. Like if you're doing an approach and you're like from the outset, like if you're like just meeting a girl, it's not something you bring up. I think a lot of guys, that's like one of those things that a girl has to earn. Like when I've said in the past, like guys need to be more of a mystery. Like women need to earn like real information from a guy. That's why you have to be an onion, right? There's layers to it. But a woman has to earn certain information from a guy. It's one thing to say, what do you do for a living? I'm an industrialist. What's an industrialist? Exactly. But I think there's certain like personal details that a woman has to earn. I would definitely say that's one of them. It goes back to vulnerability, okay? And this is not necessarily something that makes you vulnerable. It's not. It kind of has the taste. It has the theme of vulnerability to it. I'm an orphan. I don't have any living relatives. Blah blah blah. I'm all alone in this world. That's not game. That's not leverage. Okay. But what it is it's a reward. So you only reward women with certain information. And that comes after desired behavior. Has she sucked your dick like crazy? Is she exhibiting desired behaviors? It's similar to like when people ask me like, Rollo, should I give a girl flowers? Should I give a girl compliments? Should I give a girl a gift? Right. And my answer is always the same for all of those, which is only if her behavior warrants a reward. So gifts, a gift, don't give cards, a gift, a compliment, flowers, whatever, anything that seems like sort of an act of sort of giving or whatever, should only be performed when that woman has displayed desired behavior. This is me remember my background is actually in behavioral psychology, not evolutionary psychology. But it's a reward for desired behavior. So in terms of operant conditioning, what that means is you're going to give just a little bit for compliance. You should never give flowers to say I'm sorry. You should only give flowers to say thanks for the fucking great blowjob. That's what it should be. So it's always a reward for something that was job well done. So like what I would suggest, rational agent, is that if you've been with a girl for, let's say, a couple months and she asks about your family, and you think, you make the determination that she has earned that information, then explain to her. And the only reason I'm saying that is because what will happen is the interpretation will be interpreted as vulnerability, right? Like it's something that kind of bugs you, whether it does or it doesn't. The presumption is that it's going to bug you. And so it's like, oh, you're all alone in this world. Well, yeah, I guess if you put it that way, kind of thing. It's like when I talk about vulnerability, like guys think that vulnerability is game. It's never game. Vulnerability is not strength. But if a woman sees you and your personality type is predominantly alpha, and you have one quick hit moment of vulnerability, like, yeah, I don't have any parents. You know, my mom and my dad passed away when I was young. It's like what the Batman origin story. They were killed by Joker when when I was 10 years old, and that's why I am who I am today. If she earns your Batman origin story, understand it's going to be interpreted as vulnerability. And in what I mean by that is, if you are predominantly alpha and you don't spill your guts on the fucking restaurant table on your first fucking date, and you remain, at least you are reserved enough to keep things to yourself until such time as she deserves to be told, right? What that will be perceived as is a moment of vulnerability for a guy that she would otherwise say is alpha, and she will take that as a compliment for herself, because she's the only one that can get it out of you, right? I must be really important because he's telling me his mom and dad were killed by the Joker when he was 10 years old, right? It's part of like retaining not just an air of mystery, because people think that's game playing. It's not game playing. It is, or it's not manipulation. It's just who you are, right? Like, what's the difference between like I would say it's more manipulative to use that information as an aspect of game, saying, well, you know, I was young and my parents were killed in a tragic car accident and blah, blah, blah. That's more manipulative. Like you offering that and pushing that out there, that's almost a plea for sympathy, right? You pushing that out there is more manipulative than you keeping it to yourself and having her whether she does or not, but having her drag it out of you. That is a much more, in my opinion anyways, a much more healthy way of dealing with that than saying, well, you know, you're on your first date and it's like, well, when I was 12 years old, this happened. And then I went and I graduated in homecoming dance and this, and then I went to college, and then like you just spill your guts on the first date. That's never, you will not get a second date as a result of that. So, but that was a good question. Thank you. Totally understand, Rollo. I thought you were paranoid of Pearl, but you explained it pretty well. I'll stick with modding Mike's Access Vegas side and learning free books and MOA for now. Mike appreciates you for sure for that stuff. So, you know, I mean, no hard feelings. It's just, well, like I was saying before, like when Tiffany Fox was fucking Tory fancy, so let's just be honest, and going on with Pearl, I cut her off completely. I ghosted her, and she lost her shit because like Tiffany loves me. I love Tiffany too. And then I saw her, let's see what happened. So we reconciled, right? Because I was on Adam Sosnick's show, and she made a special point to be on the panel of girls on Adam Sosnick's show when me and Mike were on there at one point. And then like after before the show, she comes up to me and she's just crying her eyes out. Like, sorry, I would never say anything, yada, yada, yada. I said, it's not anything personal. And I hate the fact that I have to go through that because of this dumb fucking bitch who will throw you under the bus as soon as she does not have any use for you anymore. And you got this other autistic spurg who is trying to be her, who's basically, you know, coattailing her until she's no longer worth the ride anymore. You talk about manipulative, evil people. These are them. And when I talk about like pathological personalities, drawing other pathological personalities into their orbit, example A, Your Honor, we rest our case. So, and I hate that I have had to lose friendships as a result of this. And only because I'm being pragmatic. I'm not trying to be a dick. I mean, I was just talking to Rocky Savo when the Golden Knights were. I thought the Golden Knights were actually going to go to the Stanley Cup, and I was just recently talking to Ryan. We talk about hockey, right? Fine, cool, I'm good with it. And I know that they don't work with Pearl, and I know Pearl's got her own thing going on. Maybe she's still doing her documentary whenever that comes out. By the way, I mentioned this in the Pearl show that I did like probably months ago, like 6 months, 8 months ago. I semi-jokingly said, I will be in a documentary before Pearl finishes her documentary. And here I am in Lonely Fans, and Mike is too. Now, I don't know if she might have got interviewed as well, but I will tell you this, that documentary, that docuseries will come out before her fucking divorce one does. She's been stroking off to that for 4 fucking years right now. It ain't never gonna fucking happen. It will never happen. And if it does, nothing will come from it because it's old news. It's dead. It's dead in the water. Like I was telling, I made mention of this on my last, I was on the Sean Kelly show. Right before I came out here to Miami, I did a show with Sean Kelly. I had my second show with Sean Kelly, and I made the announcement. You'll see it once it gets released because it was a pre-record. So don't ask me about it right now because it's not out. He hasn't released it yet. But when it's linked, I'll make sure everybody knows. But I was on Sean Kelly's show, and I mentioned this, and I'll make the announcement now, like I did on Wednesday. I was invited to Oxford University. I got an email from the Oxford Society, and they want me, or they wanted me to come on the show and discuss or debate the state of masculinity and the manosphere and all this other stuff, which I was finally, somebody's giving some recognition to like the work I've done, at least in this field, right? And this is Oxford, and no travels, stipends or anything like that. I have to like fly my own happy ass out there, and I'm happy to do it. So I'll do it. It was supposed to be, they mentioned that it was supposed to be like the end of this month or like sometime in June. Now they pushed it back to the beginning of July. And so in the meantime, I asked them, I said, who else is going to be on that panel for this, debate at Oxford? And they said they were looking for Myron Gaines. They reached out to Myron. So you would get me and Myron in Oxford. We have to wear those frocks, right? And that little hat and everything, like we're like the college graduation. And they mentioned, the other name that was mentioned was Chris Williamson. And I kind of laughed a little bit when I saw that, because I'm like, you might not want to mention that I'm on the show with if you're talking to Chris Williamson, because he probably won't do it if he knows that I'm going to be on there, because I will just eviscerate him. But we'll see what happens. It's supposed to go down in the beginning of July. Now, if I had said that early, but I've known about this since March, by the way. So if I had said that early, and I had said that to somebody who works with Pearl, do you not think that she would try to get on that bill too? Do you not think that she would like reach out to the people, because she's from the UK? Do you think that she would not try to do something like that? I have to keep my fucking mouth shut. Mike knew about it. My wife knew about it. There's the only 2 people that knew about it. And now we'll see. I don't know if the reason I don't make announcements like that is because I don't know if it's going to go through. It's like, you don't talk about the pregnancy until the baby's like 2 months in. It's the same thing. But like same thing with Dr. Phil. I didn't say anything about Dr. Phil until like probably 3 weeks beforehand. And then people go, how come you're going on Dr. Phil? You said you'd never go. I didn't say I'd never go on Dr. Phil. But why did I go on Dr. Phil? Because I knew that if I didn't, some dumb fuck like Pearl would go on that show and they would shit the bed. And guess who has to clean up the mess? This guy. So that's why I went and I did that. Same thing with Oxford. Same thing with the rest of this stuff. So if I end up going, I have to keep my mouth shut up until such a point where I can announce it and I feel comfortable with letting everybody know, right? Because I've been in those situations where she's done end arounds with the Daily Wire, where she's used my name to get fucking Jim Sexton on the fucking on the shows, because like by saying that I'm going to be on the show, and then they kick me off, and what they were planning anyways was they were going to tell Jim that I was going to be on the show. They kick me off, but they don't tell Jim until he's there in Nashville for the recording, and Rollo couldn't make it. Or you think he's not going to do the show? Yeah. So like sneaky bullshit like that. Like people don't even know that shit that goes on behind the scenes. That's why I told Andrew Willson hit me up because he just did a podcast, a debate, I think, with Pearl, and he hit me up. I was on the plane, actually. I was on the plane out here on Tuesday, and he hit me up and he says, I'm going to do a debate with Pearl. What should I, you have any, topics or whatever? I said, because he said they were going to talk about like divorce or not, should men get married, right? I've had that conversation with him before. And so he asked me, he said, what should I prepare for? And I go, all you have to do is go and watch the Michael Knowles discussion or debate or whatever, because she had the same debate with Michael Knowles a year ago in March. Which was the whole thing where she was monkeying around with the shit in the back. And by the way, I got the receipts to prove that too. In fact, I'll be happy to show them to you right now. I think I even have them in my media assets right now. But where she's, basically going on with Michael Knowles, and there's Glenn Lawrence in the background basically coaching her along, like shouting it out from the fucking wings because she's so inept and doesn't know what to say. And Glenn thinks he's going to quote scripture and that's going to help. But I told Andrew Willson, I said, go watch that, because she's going to use every single talking point that she used on there. And sure as shit, almost verbatim. I felt like I was watching, if you've seen it, it's boring sorry, Andrew, but it was boring as fuck, because it was basically a repeat of her quote unquote debate with Michael Knowles. I said, just watch that. You'll be perfectly prepared for every point, because she doesn't deviate from it, because she doesn't do anything new. She just parrots back the same bullshit all the time. So, but yeah. So not being able to bear kids is damaging me. Okay. Why? That's crazy. You're going to be a monk then. Well, why? You don't have to be a monk. Dude. You can't have kids. Can you literally not have kids? Not being able to have kids is damaging me. Why would that be damaging for you? Like, if you want children, if you're a guy and you want children, don't you think, adopt, man? Go ahead and adopt. I'd be a little hesitant to like marry a single mommy, but like if you get with a girl and you say, hey man, I can't have kids. Why would that be? Why would that be, damaging to you? Right? That sounds like, be a mentor, go coach kids, right? There's a lot of other things you can do if that's what you feel like, your calling is, or what your purpose ought to be. You could, like I said, I don't have any sons. I have 1,000 sons and 1 daughter, right? I'm never going to have any more kids. I mean, that I know of. I'm never going to have any more children, but that doesn't bum me out. I have 1 great daughter, pour all my effort. And then I have a pretty great nephew and a pretty great niece too. So you have to be a monk. Go fuck. Why would that mean you don't go fuck other girls? Like, I'm going to be a monk. I'm going to just cut my cock off. Fuck that, dude. No, if anything, it might be a blessing in disguise. Tales from Gutsy Ninja. CHD, hey Rollo, I want to hear something weird. My card was on hold when I tried to buy an Access Vegas shirt. I got the hold off, but it was weird. Okay, well, good. Thank you for buying my merch. Where's the merch? Rollo has. I have actually one of the shirts here. Merch you can find in the description. I know it's really difficult to click on the more part of the description. It's so hard to go, oh, click. You can do it. Trust me, it's okay. Nobody ever does. Like, it's funny. This is how lazy you fucks are. Okay, this is how lazy you are. You have to, like, on YouTube. The trick of YouTube is to put your most important links in the first 3 lines of the description, because those are the ones that are going to be above the fold, like above the click for more, right? They're above the fold, right? So what do? I put the Reignite logo, or the Reignite link. I put my link to my books is always the first one. And then MOA or Substack, whatever I think is important, is usually the third one, right? It might be dollar cost crypto if I'm doing affiliates for them. But in your first 3 lines, here's the trick. That's why people always put links in those first 3 lines of the description, because they know no one clicks more. Rollo, who's the guy that does the theme song at the end of the outro of your? Jevani Sanders. I've said this so many times, I can't even think straight anymore. Oh, where can I get his shit? Well, if you clicked more, you'd know where to get his shit, because the link is in the goddamn description. Stop being so fucking lazy. It's 1 click and you could read it, and there's the link. Click on the link and you'll go to Spotify. You can download Best Head of My Life by Jevani Sanders. That's the name of the theme song. Oh, Rollo, I really love the intro music. Who does that? This guy, my band does that. Jinx does that, which, by the way, is the link that's above Jevani Sanders. Intro music, outro music. And you can go and get all of those. Well, you can get ours at Reverb Nation. I haven't gone through DistroKid yet. I'm planning to put our music up on Spotify and Apple iTunes and all. Like, I'm planning to not make money off of our music very soon. But if you want to download those songs for free, you can go to our Reverb Nation page and just pull them off. Free, gratis. You can have it. Please take it. And then you will have the song is called "Told You So." It's like the 3rd song in the album, which I've performed live several times, not only on the Battle of the Bands, but also God knows how many times when I do live streams of our rehearsals. So please click the more on the description, and then you'll be able to go. Where do I find Rollo's Audible books? I don't know. Let's go and look at the description. Perhaps there's a billion links there that he's put so I can go and get these things. How do I join Reignite? I don't know. Maybe it's in the description, for fuck's sake. It's 1 click. I can't even believe it. I can watch some of those girls churn butter. Most of the girls that Mike Sartain goes for should be churning butter. His type is butter churner. Any thoughts on Andrew Wilson's debate with Pearl about marriage? I think I just gave you that. It's basically a repeat of what she was saying to Michael Knowles a year ago in March. Nothing has changed. So I think she's reached the point of burnout, quite honestly. From what I've been able to gather, I think she's really at the point of burnout right now. A lot of people are, because they don't know what to do. Like right now, you have to work. The gravy days, the gravy train of 2000 or 2021, 22, the chuck wagon pulled out like towards the end of 2023, and now people have to work for it. One of the reasons why you see Pearl doing membership drives, or I mean, it's very obvious. Like Fresh and Fit are doing subathons right now, because it's nearly impossible to get the super chat money that they used to get. The days of making $120,000 a month on super chats are over. And so the only way to really sort of keep the lights on is to find alternate revenue streams. And to their credit, to Fresh and Fit's credit, they've been able to do that. You want to know why Brian from whatever podcast does 10, like he's gone from like 4-hour podcasts to 10-hour podcasts? It's because you can't make the same amount of money off of super chat and long form media, long form videos like this one, for example. And I don't even like, 4 hours is a long show for me. I used to do 4 and 5 hours, kind of back that off a little bit to more like 3 or 4. I don't know what I'm going to do today, but the days of long form media are over. They've been over for a while now. And it's one thing, like I do this show once a week on Sundays. I do this as a form of outreach. So this is like, it's nice to get the ad dollars or the super chat. Thank you. Please keep super chatting. But But YouTube, because of the algorithm, prefers short form media now. Whether that's like a 3-minute video or a 12-minute video, as long as like you'll notice that like Orion Taraban stuff is anywhere between 8 and 12 minutes right now. Very rarely does he like push 20 minutes. And you'll also notice that he reads his shit. It's not like he doesn't freestyle it. He has you can tell he has a teleprompter. It's already written out. And my guess is he front loads his material, meaning that he probably goes through on a Monday, he might do 4 or 5 videos and then he's done for the week. And he just staggers them and schedules them to come out. And that's so you can make ad dollars. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing something similar myself, because you're going to rip me off anyways. I might as well do it myself. But as far as Andrew Willson and Pearl is concerned, it's just the same shit. I think she doesn't know what to do with herself because she has to actually work for her supper now. It's no longer enough to go on Jubilee and parrot back all the shit she's read from my book or parrot back what she's heard from Jim Sexton. It's no longer enough to do that. That's why you don't see her out there, and she's not as available anymore. She's doing her video, or she's doing her podcasts out of her family's basement right now. She's gone from having her own studio in the UK to having to go back home with her tail between her legs and stay with mom and dad. And she's still trying to remain relevant and, just go away. The best thing she could do is just go away, like leave it alone. Now, what will probably happen is like as soon as the red pill starts to pick up steam again, you'll see these grifters come back into the scene again. But, I can't pivot out. I can only stay and do what I do. Like no one's going to take me seriously if I start talking about ethno-nationalism or social issues or culture war this. Maybe I can do a fishing channel. I would love to be able to do, or maybe I can talk about Warhammer 40,000. I might be able to. I feel pretty knowledgeable on that. But even if I started doing something like that, some sort of off-topic show, people would still be like, Rollo, I know this is about 40K, but my girlfriend left. Or should I hit on this cashier at Starbucks? That people would never accept it. So I just go with it and sit. It's what I've done forever. All right, man. If I'm 26 and haven't ever tried to get laid or chase and date women, you're not chasing women. Wipe your ass with the fucking chasing thing, okay? You're never made an effort to go and actually connect and approach women. Got it. Is that not a voluntary choice I've made? Not every virgin is an incel. It's only a choice if you have 2 fucking choices, right? Like, if I have the choice that this chick is really hot to fuck me, and I have the choice to walk away from that, then that was a choice that I made. I decided, no, I don't want to do that, right? I've done that several times. I did that last night. I could have gone home with a really hot Russian chick last night. I chose not to, right? But I had the choice too. That's the difference. I had the option. The opportunity presented itself, and I declined. Not every incel is a virgin, yes, but not every virgin has the opportunity to not be a virgin. That's what I'm saying. So, have you played High Noon yet? No. Is that a video game? What is High Noon? Isn't High Noon is that a role-playing game? It might be. I don't know. I don't know what High Noon is. Tell me what High Noon is. Somebody tell me what High Noon is. Siege D became a member. Yay, thank you. Thank you for my, what's funny about the whole membership thing I think I might have brought this up recently is, maybe I didn't. It makes more sense for me to focus on Substack because Substack is I'll give you the inner workings of how you make money online. Here's how you make money online. 7 tips. Number 4 will surprise you, right? Here's how you make money online. For YouTube, you make money through ad revenue, or you make money through memberships, or you make money through SuperChats. Those are the 3 primary ways those are revenue models for YouTube, okay? If I can't make money on SuperChats, well, then I can get ad revenue. If I have a long form video, your ad revenue is garbage because I'm I love you. Thank you for watching. But like if I'm doing even a 1 hour podcast, that has no rewatch value. If I'm doing a 20-minute, not even that, if I'm doing a 12-minute clip, or if I'm doing like Orion Taraban, I do 8 minutes trying to tell you about frame and all this other bullshit. If I go in, that has replay value. That will get, you'll notice that short form videos have much higher view counts than long form videos. Like most of my long form videos, if I get 30,000 views, that's a good fucking show for me. I've been averaging, and the average has gone down recently. Maybe it's because I'm shadow banned. It also could be that the algorithm in YouTube it doesn't have anything to do with me being shadow banned. It might be that the algorithm prefers to show people short form video because that's what gets the ad dollars for them. And so there's the ad revenue, there's the super chats, which is really the only way you can really make a long form videos work. And then there's memberships, and memberships are, what do I charge? $9.99. I don't even know what my memberships are at, because it's so rare that I get a membership. But when I do Substack, I have 2 ways to make money on Substack. I get $9.99 a month if you want a monthly subscription to Substack. And then I have a 1 year where I give you like $20 off, right? So you got $90 for a year. Those are my subscription models for Substack. Substack, I write articles on Substack. I don't do 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 9 hour videos on Substack. I write articles that are intense, that are educational, and I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of. I think I'm closing in on 300 paid subscribers on. If I don't have it yet, I'm getting pretty close. On Substack right now, and every time I put out another article on Substack, I get that much more. And so it makes better sense for me not to do subathons. It's to point you towards my Substack, which, by the way, Pearl can't do, and Fresh and Fit can't do, and whatever podcast cannot do, because they don't write. They're not writers. I am. So it makes better sense for me. Like I thank you for CHD. Thank you for being a member, but go sub to Substack. You're going to get a lot more out of it. But as far as the money is concerned, so like it's more pragmatic for me to go and point toward, High Noon Vodka Seltzer. Is that what it's about? I thought it was a game. So it makes better sense for me to push my Substack than it does for me to do a subathon to make money off of the subscription model that is YouTube. YouTube never started as a sub model. You'll notice, and by the way, Instagram, same thing. Twitter, you can become a member of a certain account. And the reason for that is because, and Rumble does the same thing. You can be a member of a particular channel and you're paying $9.99 a month. But the problem is it requires the content creator to do that much more extra effort. So you have your non-sub content that everybody has access to, and then you have the sub content that you're only focusing on. Here's some special stuff for you, and it's really not that special because you're basically doing the same kind of shit, right? Only you're doing it for people. Like it's membership only right now. Well, the reason why you see more people like leaning towards the membership thing is because they don't write articles and they don't have like that revenue stream seems like a saving grace. It's going to save your channel, and it's really not. It will help for me because I do Substack. Substack only takes 10% from the profit of their creators for now. YouTube takes 30%. So what makes more sense for Rollo Tomassi? Do 3 or 4 or 5 articles a month on Substack and increase my because we're talking about the same amount of money, $9.99 or $9.99. $9.99 and 10% taken out, or $9.99 and 30% taken out. And it takes a lot more to set up a camera, to set up the lighting, to do all this stuff, to do a long form content that I'm going to do on a Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's going to get downgraded in the fucking algorithm anyways. I'm going to go focus on Substack. Fuck off. But I'm still going to do the video because it's outreach and I like talking to you guys. I like to hear my own voice. You know. So anyways, would you, Thomas V, would you like to see Would like to see you and Mike interview experts outside the red pill who have clearly seen emotionalism infect in their industries. Example, Patrick Moore, oncologist, and Thomas Sowell, economist. Yeah, Thomas Sowell is, I don't know who the Patrick Moore guy is, but I do know Thomas Sowell. And like Thomas, I think probably has a more red pill outlook than, say, an economist like Scott Galloway. Right, Scott Galloway is a dyed-in-the-wool feminist, and he's never going to change his like tampon. Okay, but Thomas Sowell is I would definitely like to do that. I mean, we've interviewed Richard Reeves before. We will talk to people who are not necessarily on board with what we sort of espouse on Access Vegas. But yeah, definitely, I've been talking to Mike about doing more interviews too, because we're starting to expand things in Access Vegas these days because. The show is becoming a lot more popular. You'll notice that we have more girls on the show than we've ever had before. Usually that's because it's summertime, but when some girl has been on the show and another girl sees that girl on the show, they would now want to be on the show. We always overbook anyways because we know some girls are going to fall off, but more often than not, they're not now. So if we book like 14 girls, we have 10 or 12 show up, and we can barely fit that many on the table right now. But yeah, that's a good idea. Got to go Access Vegas Wednesday. Yes, we will be on that day. Yeah, a sexual monk. Well, good luck, brother. Back on Dios. Thanks for keeping your show apolitical, Rollo. Too many creators in the red pill space have pivoted to politics. Yeah, and the problem is like the red pill creators don't try to do crossover. They wholesale move from the red pill over to politics or the culture war or whatever it is that they think that they should be doing. And a lot of the stuff that I see, and this is no hit on Myron because a lot of other people have been doing this too, but like I noticed that Adam Sosnick's a good example of this. The dudes who were really wanting to get into the red pill space back in like 2022. I mean, Adam will be the first one to tell you, like I was instrumental in helping him get to 100,000 on his show. He just had an economics show and it wasn't playing. And then he started he'd have me on and Justin Waller on and Torsha was on and Fosh was on and some of these other girls. And he started doing this kind of like limited version of a Fresh and Fit thing. And it got bigger and bigger as the studio got bigger. But like I helped him get to 100 grand. I helped Jedediah do the same thing. And because I knew what I was talking about, and to their credit, at least they listened to me, right? But of all of that, I would say Jedediah she's a real one. Like she's still to this day doing the same kind of stuff and the same kind of content, even though she took a hiatus for a while and then came back to it. I love Adam Sosnick like a brother. I think he's a cool dude. I just don't like who he's married to. I don't think that Valuetainment is. I think he could be I see so much more potential in Adam Sosnick, and I don't even think he's aware of it. He's such a good personality. He's like a game show host, and I think that if he could leverage that and put that into some other area, whether it's politics or they're going back to the red pill again, I don't know. I tried to convince him to come to Vegas last night. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna like bug out of Miami or whatever, Fort Lauderdale, whatever. Come to Vegas, man. I could use you. We could certainly use you as a co-host when Mike's off. When Mike is off, when Mike can't do the show, like we don't do the show. I need a I mean, I could do it solo, I suppose. I've done it with Tristan before, but it would be great to have somebody who's sort of like another co-host, so that when Mike's doing Swimsuit USA, I can keep the show going. So I would like no one better than Adam Sosnick to do that. And then Adam's off the leash. And you know how he is when he's off the leash, because you probably saw that episode when we had him on there. Like when Adam's off the leash and he's not like beholden to Patrick Bet David or Valuetainment or whatever, he speaks his mind. He gets pretty like mercenary. Yeah, thank you very much. Let's hear. High Noon is a board game. Oh, yeah. That one. Sorry, my bad. I thought it was a role-playing thing. I loved it. I still have it's in my game room right now, as a matter of fact. I have in my new place in Vegas, I have a dedicated game room. I have this really nice here. Okay, would you like me to nerd out on you? This is an AMA, and you did ask me this question, so I'm going to give you the answer. Yeah, I would have to. I know you wanted me to get with the guys from Masculine Geek to do a review on it, and we probably still will. I'm trying to work out to have some of these guys come into Vegas so we can actually play live, and we can do something like that. But I really enjoyed the game. I think it's kind of cool. I played it like probably 3 or 4 times, but that was back in Reno. But I have a new game room in my place in Las Vegas. It's a dedicated space. I'm actually having Jake Cope put in some recessed lighting in that room right now because it has no real lighting. And I have an actual, like a closeted area where I put all my supplies and all my stuff. And then the table I have is, it's almost like an 8 foot by 4 foot table, or 8 foot by 6 foot. It's a pretty goddamn big table. And then it serves as a game table. You can flip it over, and then it's a ping pong table, and then you take the slats off of it, and then it's a pool table, and so you can play pool as well. So it's kind of a cool little multi-game kind of thing. I've been used since I moved to Vegas. I only really use it for tabletop gaming, but it's pretty cool, and we play your game on it. So yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I should point out that yes, I am Dwight. He sent me like everything in there. Like I have like everything that's possibly you could buy for the game. Like I have it in this big gigantic box. And then I also have to point out, like on my birthday, I had these guys who I just saw here at the white party. I had these guys telling me, hey, how do you like the 40K stuff I got? Because these guys came up to me on my birthday on April 2nd. They came up to me on my birthday, and they had gone to the Warhammer store. But there's a Warhammer store that is like right around the corner from Red One Studios. They gone over there. They got me like a terrain set. They got me like they got me a book. They got me like some accessories. They got me like the Leviathan starter set. I mean, they went fucking all out on this, man. And I was just like, I was floored that somebody knew enough about like what I like to like buy that for me for my birthday. And I just got to give them a shout out again because it was really kind of cool. I'm a nerd in that way. Thoughts on Andrew Wilson's success with Super Chats? I think you mean Brian Atalus's success with Super Chats, because there is no Whatever podcast without Andrew Wilson these days. Although you're probably talking about The Crucible, and in that case, yes, I would agree. That Griff Lord seems to pull it in and can even go on other channels and pull it in for them, which is why he does 10-hour podcasts with Andrew Wilson. It's funny. I was joking around with Rachel Wilson the other day, and I said, have you guys moved to Santa Barbara yet? Because they might as well be living in Santa Barbara. Pearl's biggest Super Chat episode was probably with Andrew. Yep. Yeah, he's definitely a draw. Andrew, I like Andrew well enough. I think he has the appeal of Myron in that he's really mercenary like Myron. But he does it with like a Bible. He thumps, Bible thumping at the same time. And I think that's sort of a different play on all of that. But I think it's hot right now because people like to moralize more these days. So. Orion Taraban, in my opinion, has added to the Manosphere. Okay. But his foundation is taken directly from you. Yeah, directly from me. The vocabulary he uses is the tell. Yeah, he never mentions you while mentioning his PhD constantly. Not cool. Yeah, well, and then he also, remember, Orion Taraban was interviewed by Mike and Tristan in my fucking studio, in fucking Red One Studio. The only reason I wasn't there is because it was on the weekend that I was with my wife, because it was our anniversary. And that's the only time we celebrate anything, right? But even in that interview, in my fucking studio, my name wasn't mentioned once. Not once. And I think that's pretty telling. The other part is, what gets me is he uses the vernacular that I use. He also... Mike was mentioning something in Orion Taraban's latest book, and it was like a chapter called Mutiny. And I'm like, I sent the article that I wrote that was titled Mutiny, which is exactly where he pulled, almost verbatim. Like it's almost to the point of plagiarism. But the chapter's called Mutiny. And the reason why I remember that is because I was being really hypercritical of Athol K at the time, because you probably don't even know who Athol K is. Very early forum years guy who started his own men's group that he allowed his wife and her friends to sort of be a part of, and completely ruined him family-wise, marriage-wise, and financially too. But one of his big things was the captain and the first mate analogy, and then, which I thought was a mistake to begin with, because it's the captain that's going down on the ship, not the first mate. And then that's when I came up with the idea of mutiny. And then I wrote the article on mutiny. And I mean, Sam, if you want to bring that link up, I'm happy to put it in the chat. But I mean, read that article and then go read his chapter called Mutiny. It's almost the same fucking thing. Like, this guy seems like he's like, when he goes on with like Sadia Khan and everything, I can get an idea that he's basically a grifter is what he is. The only thing he has going for him is the DR in front of his name. And, you know, I want to like the guy, but the guy, like, he will never, ever recognize where he's getting this stuff from. He will never recognize anybody. I would like to say he doesn't recognize me, but he doesn't recognize anybody, period. It's just his own grift. And that just means to me that he's dedicated to his own brand rather than the actual material itself. So, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I can't stop people from like pirating my work. It's like next to impossible to do that. I can't stop people from using AI to rewrite my work and then claim it as their own. There's no, I mean, we're getting to the point right now where AI is getting so good that they can it will re-summarize stuff I wrote back in 2012, and they'll make it, and it'll update it for now, and it makes it seem like it's an all new thing, and people will just basically pick it up and say, I wrote this. No, you didn't. If a girl used to be, thank you for that. I put that in the chat, will you? Oh, or did you? Yeah, put that in the chat, Sam. If a girl used to do OnlyFans years ago and lied about it, but now wants to be a mother and a wife, should a guy give her a second chance if he knows everything? This is going to sound like really wishy-washy, but I think, again, it depends on the situation. It depends on the chick. I brought this up on Wednesday, as a matter of fact, on Fresh and Fit. I'm looking at the girls, and there's OnlyFans girl, this other girl who was a property manager, and the other girl is commercial porn. She fucked Lena the Plug and Adam 22. Like, she does commercial porn. I love sex. Okay, awesome. And then, you know, all the rest of the chicks, right? But how do you, even if a girl's making a modest amount of money on OnlyFans, how do you reconcile that with the money? And how do you reconcile that with the fact that she's doing OnlyFans to earn that money, right? Most girls, if a girl, what did you say? A girl years ago and lied about, what if she lied about? The lying part is what you need to be more conscious of. Whether or not she did OnlyFans is kind of like, well, what chick isn't doing OnlyFans, right? Especially what chick that looks hot that wouldn't use that hotness to leverage that to her own advantage? What girl isn't doing OnlyFans, right? Like, maybe some girl in the Midwest, maybe some chick in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who's like wears Daisy Dukes and is like this you're a wholesome girl and everything like that. She just hasn't leveraged it, right? But now she wants to be a mother, and she should give a guy a second chance. Well, it's the lying part that I would be more concerned with. And you might even have leverage in that situation, because probably the reason why she's lying about it is she doesn't want to be that person anymore. She doesn't want to be the OnlyFans girl anymore. And the digital footprint's there. So any guy that wants to go and like sort of look her up is going to find it anyways. So it's almost like pointless to lie. It's almost stupid. It's almost juvenile for women to lie about having been on OnlyFans. They don't got to be like proud of it and in your face about it, but don't lie about it. You know, because if you have been on OnlyFans, people are going to find out. And if they don't, your sister's going to find out. Your mom's going to find out. Somebody else is going to find out, and they're going to point it out to you. Whether that's a big deal to you or not, like me at 57 years old, like all that pretentious bullshit just fucking flies out. Are you down to fuck? pretty much it, you know. But do you want, I don't know, do you like, here's what I should say. Here's what I should say. I should say this. Never wife up these 304s. Never give them a second chance. Fuck these girls. They had their time. You know, they lack accountability, right? Okay, yeah, they do. Do you want an OnlyFans girl to be the mother of your children? I don't know. Do you? Like, a lot of guys will say, what kind of OnlyFans is she doing? Is she just showing off her ass and like doing nudes? Or is she doing, you know, guy-girl stuff? Is she doing guy girl stuff? Is she doing like girl stuff? What is the face, what is the OnlyFans? What's the content? Right? Like, for instance, I love, it's no longer there. You can't find it anymore, but I love me some Maya Allegra. She used to have an OnlyFans. She took it down a long time ago, but she never did anything sexual. It wasn't even like, she wasn't even nude. She was just in like lingerie. Right? She's done the Black Tape Project stuff, which I thought she was fucking smoking hot in. I still think she's hot in it. But now she's a confirmed Catholic, right? And now she's kind of like left that lifestyle, and good on her for having done. She'll probably be back, but good on her for making that effort, right? But she's done OnlyFans. Should I not hang out with her? Should I not like try to talk to her on text or whatever? No. I think it kind of depends on the situation, really. If she's made content with multiple men, should her boyfriend end the relationship or keep it a forever girlfriend situation? In that case, I would say it's probably recreational use only. The odds are that there's one of the, I don't know how many guys. I mean, what do you mean by multiple men? Like multiple men at the same time? Or has she just had a series of guys come through and make content with her? Either way, what I'm supposed to say is never wipe up these 304s. Okay, so don't. But why are we? But here's the thing: why are we having this conversation in the first place? Like, why are you asking me? Like, shouldn't you know already? Shouldn't that be self-evident? It's not. It's not self-evident. That's why you're asking these questions. That's why you want to get my advice on this kind of stuff. Again, what are we talking about? Multiple men, hundreds of men? Or are we talking Lily Phillips? Don't marry Lily Phillips. Okay. Bonnie Blue, don't marry Bonnie Blue. Annie Knight, don't marry Annie Knight. Okay. It's probably a bad idea to do that. Is she going to stop? If she will she stop if she's in a relationship with you? Are you the guy that's going to lift her out of that situation? Are you Richard Gere in Pretty Woman, and you're the only guy who's special enough to pull her out of prostitution? Those are the questions you should be asking me, not the other ones. Rollo, any chance Owen Cook goes on Access Vegas? I would do it in a heartbeat. It's not up to me, though. It's really up to Mike working that out with Owen. We have, as far as I know, the last conversation I had with Mike about, because I want him on. Fuck yeah, he'll dominate. Like I can talk. Like, what are we at? 2 hours and 18 minutes. I can talk a lot. Mike can talk more than me, but you know who talks more than both of us? Owen fucking Cook. I don't know that he would be the best guest to have on Access Vegas. And the reason why I'm saying that is, and not because he's not a great dude. I think he's fantastic. But the problem is no girl will get in a word edgewise. We might as well just, here, take the mic and just go ahead. There you go. Because he can talk and talk and talk. And I don't know that he's good at that. I don't know that he's good at interviews. I don't know that he's good as far as being a conversation, like in the setting that would be a panel show. I think he would he'd be that guy. He would dominate the conversation, and not because he's a dick or anything. It's just that's who he is. But I've tried, and I think that Mike has tried, but I think the reason why we haven't had him on is because there's some kind of like business conflict. Like his brand is not allowed, like his branding is not allowed to co-brand in certain ways. And I think our show is one of like if that was the case, don't you think he would be on Fresh? Like he's been on Fresh and Fit. That's where I first met him, but he only just happened to walk into the studio that one day and we were talking, but he doesn't do whatever podcasts. He doesn't do those. He doesn't do like live stream kind of stuff. And I think it's because of his pre-arrangement with like guys like Julian Blanc and his old business partners and stuff like that. I don't think he's allowed to, like it's a non-compete thing. I don't think he's allowed to do that, but I could be wrong. But I think that's the last conversation I had with Mike, because I've asked him, so how come we don't have Owen on? And he was like, well, because there's like some sort of conflict in the let's see, put that there. Whatever. But I think there's been some sort of like business conflict as a result of that. Does Orion avoid you because he's plagiarized you? Can you think of any other reason? I've given him props too on several occasions. I like when he first came out, I thought he was great. And then I realized where he was sourcing his material from, because he was literally using my vernacular and stuff. And I'm like, can I get a reach around? And I don't think he's ever going to name drop me, because if he did, then people would look me up and they would understand where he's drawing his material from. That's why it's kind of like, in some ways I look at Orion. You guys are going to shit your pants when I say this. In some ways, I kind of look at Orion Taraban as a white version of Kevin Samuels. And I mean that in the sense that Kevin Samuels didn't come up with his own. The way he delivered it was definitely his own thing. But a lot of the stuff that Kevin Samuels was relating on his shows either was sourced from my material or from Myron and Fresh. And there came a point where this sort of competitiveness kind of bubbled to the surface in like 2022. Is that when it was? 2022? When did he die? He died in May of 2023. So in 2022, it wasn't necessarily bad blood between Myron and Kevin Samuels. It was just the fact that they were in competition. And so like Kevin would never, like only on rare occasions would he mention my name. And that was only when other people would call in and mention my name. Because guys who are lifting other people's material will generally never talk about that other guy, but that doesn't mean that the people in the chat won't. Like, oh, this sounds really similar to what Rollo said, right? He doesn't, like Orion doesn't want people like that's why he doesn't do live streams. I have a different level of respect for guys who do live streaming. Like Andrew Willson, one of the reasons I like him so much is because he's not afraid to do live stream. He's not afraid to have people in the chat go, fuck you, Rollo, you were old and you wear a beanie. Like he doesn't care about stuff like that. Like when I look at, like, I like Sean Kelly quite a bit. He asks really good questions. He's a really good interviewer. He's on spot. Obviously he's successful at what he does, but I think my respect for him or my appreciation for him would go up astronomically if he started doing live streams, because live streams are fucking hard. And I know, because that's all I've ever done is live streams. Because you have to be able to like look over at the chat and see them talking shit. Like when I was on Fresh and Fit and when I was on with Fresh just this week, I'm looking at the chat, and I know I shouldn't, but I do anyways. And for a good portion of it, it's pretty appreciative. But then like you'll get the guys who are like, they'll pick it apart. Like they don't pick apart what I'm saying. They don't pick apart any of the content that I'm relating. It's always that guy on roids. Like, how is that relevant to what the fuck I'm saying? Like, is that guy, why is he so old? Like Rollo, why does he wear a beanie? Is he bald? Like that's more important to you than what I'm relating in the substance of actually what I'm saying on the show. And all it does is just point out the fact that a lot of the guys you'll notice that I appreciate you guys because I have a different kind of chat, but like when I go on other people's show and it's a live stream, if I were to go on whatever podcast, I would have this rash of shit When I go on Fresh and Fit, especially the Rumble stream, rash of shit. If I go on, if I were to go on Andrew Willson, if I go on the Crucible, it would like Jesus Christ rebukes him. You know, it would be a ration of shit, but it would be like in church lingo, churchy lingo. But it would still be the same thing because it's this demographic of guys who have nothing better to do, and usually a younger generation have nothing better to do than to create multiple accounts to try to troll you. And please keep making them, because it takes longer for you to make a new account than it does for me to go hide user from channel. It's one click for me. I don't know how long you spend making multiple accounts to get around a ban, but all it is for is one click. You know, I don't care about clicking on more. But it's a different animal. Like doing a recorded thing, like Orion Taraban only, as far as I know, only does recorded material, even when he's on with Sadia Khan on Soft White Underbelly. Like, by the way, Soft White Underbelly, I'm available, dickheads. Like, hit me up whenever you want. Not going to happen. Same thing with Lex Friedman. Never going to hear it. Same, at least, you know who I have respect for? Tim Pool. Tim Pool does live streams. Who else? Like Chris Williamson. Chris Williamson doesn't do live streams. He used to, actually. For a while, he was doing live streams, and then he realized that he couldn't keep up with it, and he couldn't keep up with the criticism. He didn't want to deal with the heat. He'll deal with the heat, and he doesn't even deal with the heat in the comments. He don't want to even deal with the heat on fucking Twitter. He has his own PR team to go and do all of his tweets for him. He does. Like the thing about Twitter right now is it's overrun with bots, but it's not just overrun with bots. It's overrun with, you know, Filipino media PR people who do the tweets for Chris Williamson, who do the tweets for, you know, a bigger account of like trigonometry. Never, like, I appreciate, thank you very much, by the way, because I have guys who will constantly go on trigonometry's tweets, because they'll tweet some like the foaming at the mouth bottle, Coke bottle glasses feminist that's on there, and they'll say, when are you going to have Rollo and Myron on there? Thank you, keep doing it, I appreciate it. But you're only responding to the Filipinos or the you know, Eastern African, you know, the people in freaking Kenya who are doing the media accounts for those particular Twitter accounts, because Chris Williamson doesn't have time to do what he does and then keep up with Twitter. He doesn't have time to respond to all of that. But he's happy to go and make you think that he's engaged and involved in Twitter. He's not. It's his media team that does that. Trigonometry, do you think what, Kristen or whatever the fuck is it? You think he actually gives two shits about anybody who has a response to him on Twitter? He doesn't. It's almost not worth it to respond to people who aren't verified on Twitter right now, because they're bots. Everything's a fucking bot. I look at these chicks who are like trad femme influencers, and they'll do a quick hit drive by, you know, hey, fuck those red pill guys. Well, who are you talking about? Silence. Nothing. You won't hear anything, because there's no one there to respond to you. It's a bot. It might be a real person, but not the person who's doing the tweets. So, do you agree with Timothy 2:12? I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. She must be silent. Keep going with that in church. Okay. Have we lost this wisdom? Yeah, we have. It's been subsumed by feminism, more or less. I don't see how this is any great revelation, but you got to remember, I don't permit a woman to teach. Teach what? Teach or be a preacher in the church. She is to remain silent in the church. And you have to take that in context too. A lot of people will take that and they say, well, my wife she should just shut up all the time, right? No, not necessarily, but in church, all that is just and maybe this is what you meant. I could be maybe I'm implying things, but in the church, meaning that women are not allowed to teach or preach or be the figurehead or the pastor in a church. Women are to remain silent. There's also the part of there, she's She is to, if she has questions, she's supposed to ask her husband about that. I think there's a script, like the following scriptures that come after that. Yes, I'm quite aware of that because I use that in my 4th book in religion. But you have to remember that a lot of people will take, like, guys are really super happy about that and women are too pissed off about that. So, and if that's your groove, that's your groove. That's your religion. That's your religion. I'm a Corinthians 31 girl. Okay. If that's your religion, then you're also a Timothy 2:12 girl, right? Yeah. Just looking for some Papa Swallow, Gen X. Well, at least you got the Gen X part right. Yeah, I mean, like, why is it even an issue? Like, I believe this is the OnlyFans girl thing. I don't know, how big a deal is that to you? Like, the only kind of, like, the guys that have a problem with OnlyFans girls or girls with high body. Dude, what girl doesn't have a high body? What girl that you would want to get with that's hot and not some obese fat land whale? What girl doesn't have OnlyFans? What girl doesn't have a higher body count? Right? I'm gonna show. God, I have to show you that before I end the stream today. I have to show you this one video that I've been just like hashing it out with people. You guys are gonna shit your pants. But again, like, when people start talking about like body count, this, she can't pair bond or whatever. Like, what the fuck difference does that make? You guys are against marriage in the first place, and you're worried about pair bond. Like, why are you not just spinning plates? Why are you not just, dating non-exclusively? Why are you not, like, why is this even an issue? I wouldn't, if I was single and I was like Gen Z, and I had all this, I know what I know now, right? I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. Shit, like the chicks at the Miami White Party, I was hanging out with Christiana Cinn, Cinn, and she is a porn star, a very prominent one, and a good friend, and I like her a lot. And I've talked to her. She's very intelligent, but she does commercial porn. She's married too, by the way. It still does commercial porn. And she's in a relationship where that's just her business. She has the ability to compartmentalize the people she fucks on camera with with her husband that she fucks off camera. And people go, well, that's not a traditional, and you're right. It's not a traditional relationship. You're just trying to figure out, I think what we're trying to do in the 21st century is trying to figure out what a marriage is. Technically, that's a marriage. But Adam 22 and Lena the Plug, they're married. I've seen the wedding photos. I mean, for a while there, Destiny and Melina, or whatever the fuck the name is, that was a marriage. Is that a real marriage? Well, then now they're divorced, I guess. But, Justin Waller has, baby mama who's effectively his wife, and, it's closed on her end and open on his end. Is that a marriage? It is to them. I'm married to my wife coming up on 29 years in July. Closed on my end, closed on her end. Is that a marriage? So, like, the people who are like live these sort of freewheeling lifestyles, they would say, gosh, that's so restrictive. Tell like half the girls on Access Vegas, they're like, oh man, I could not think about like having sex with the same guy for the rest of my life. Is that a marriage? I'd like to think so, because it looks like what it was in the 20th century, but we're still trying to figure out how things look. But if you, I don't know how many different ways to say this, red flags or green flags if you're not if you're not the marrying kind. Rollo, never get married, never lose half of your stuff, never build a house on land you'll never own, right? All the standard, tropes that we throw out all the time. Okay, if that's the case, then why do you give a flying fuck about body count? Well, she can't pair bond. Who cares? You're not marrying her. You're not the marrying guy. You think marriage is not a good idea. Or do you? Do you? Because if you do, then you have a problem with it. If you don't, then you don't, or you shouldn't have a problem with it. That's one of the things that has always blown me away about these guys who get really overly moralistic about like body. And by the way, body count, as far as like being something like, women can't pair bond or men can't pair bond with a woman who's got more than 6 partners or whatever else. And the fact of the matter is, there's probably plenty of marriages that you could probably see where like they've been together for quite some time, and the guy has, he's what, by by who is it? McAmurphy. McAmurphy likes to put the male. He's a male apologist, or a masculine apologist is what he is. And he'll say like, well, you know, men who have a lot of sexual partners, they also can't pair bond very well, which is bullshit because men can compartmentalize sex from their emotional investments. But statistically, you know, speaking, research wise, questionnaire wise, but by that logic, I shouldn't be married because I have a body count of 41. I've been married for coming up on 29 years. So what does that say? That I'm a special fucking individual? I shouldn't. But I'm in a relationship with and my wife, as far as I know, I think her body count's somewhere around like five or six, something like that. I can, off the top of my head, I can think of. So she shouldn't be able to pair bond either, right? We shouldn't. We beat the odds, I guess. We have a daughter who's been married for over, well, now coming up on 2 years. We shouldn't exist, according to those stats. According to that, hey, didn't you think about this? I shouldn't be here. I should be divorced and just cry my eyes out in my fucking beer and my bourbon or some shit like that. I shouldn't look the way I do. You know, most men don't look the way you do. Yeah, I know, because they don't take care of themselves and they don't lift and they don't prioritize that. But I do. I think really all of it depends on like your own motivation and your own drive and your own ambition. Do you think that I agonize over lay number 38? Do you think I agonize over like the chick that I had sex with and that I had sex with in a church once? Do you think I agonize over that? Do you think I agonize over the girl? Let's see. Do you think I agonize over the girl who I banged because I looked close enough to Sebastian Bach back then? Because I remember I had sex with the little girl, okay? And her in her room, and this is an adult woman too, by the way, not like some teenager. She had like all these posters of Sebastian Bach and Skid Row all over, all over, and I had sex with her on her bed with the Sebastian Bach posters. It's kind of funny when I think about it now. Do you think that I'm worried about that? No, I don't care about that, especially not at this stage of the game. No, all I know is that I am in a very good, loving, healthy, well-rounded, mature relationship with my wife, who I am counting the hours now to go back home so I can nail my wife on Tuesday night. Yeah, because I'm ready, man. It's been a fucking week, man. Let's go. I've been around gorgeous, beautiful. I've been around like Russian models. It's time. First in the line of the fight, Gorilla, or last in line for Bonnie Blue's next record? Last in line for Bonnie Blue's next record. Because the Gorilla will kill me. What will you criticize Chris Williamson on at Oxford? His inability to recognize the red pill in the way that it should be recognized. In fact, to take Chris Williamson completely out of the equation, me and Myron will probably, the first thing out of if assuming things go according to plan, the first thing that I will bring up is it's about fucking time that somebody had, you know, Myron and I on so that we can actually, in fact, it would be a point of appreciation. Thank you for having us on, because now you're going to get the real deal. Because the red pill doesn't begin and end with Andrew Tate. The red pill does not begin and end with Pearl Davis. The red pill does not begin and end with even me or Myron or anybody else. I'm not going to say that I started it or anything. I've been damn near influential for the last 22 some odd years for sure. But there's people who came before me. There's people who still need to be recognized. Royce needs to be recognized. Roosh, his early work needs to be recognized. Dalrock, D-A-L-R-O-C-K, and all of his work on religion definitely needs to be recognized. I don't think, the first thing I'm going to say is these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they are more than happy to turn these red pill guys into the straw man so they can build their brands to knock down the straw man, so that everybody goes, oh yeah, fuck those red pill guys, right? That's their business model. That's their revenue model. And I will rip right into that. Like, why would you have Destiny on your fucking show? Not once, not twice, but 3 fucking times, and say, what do you think about the red pill? Is it dead now? That to me says you're a fucking grifter, because he knows my name, especially Chris Williamson, man. I remember, and some of you guys might remember this too, is I can remember when he hit 500,000 subs and he did the Q&A thing for his 500,000, and everybody said, when are you having Rollo? When is Rollo going to be on your show? When are you going to bring him on and talk to him about the red pill, yada, yada, yada. He has Alex from Date Psych on twice. He has Destiny on like 3 times. And only because he was the hot shit. And he won't have him on now. He's fucking kryptonite right now. But back when he had him on, before all this other bullshit went down with Lauren Southern, because I can go rub his fucking nose in Lauren Southern. I can rub his nose in Brittany Venti. I can rub his nose in Melina. I can rub his nose in him and his, trying to pay off Pixie so she wouldn't file SA charges against him. I can rub his fucking nose in that, and he knows I can rub his nose in that now. You want to know why he's scared to have us on, me and Mike on? That's why, because he knows I'll go there. So this is the guy. This is the guy you want to say is the authority on the Manosphere. Even Andrew, Chris has never had Andrew Tate on, but even Andrew Tate throws the red pill under the bus when it's convenient for him. He didn't do that back in 2019, 2018. When I was interviewing him, he definitely wanted to be considered red pill back then. Not anymore. Because it has a stink to it. When it doesn't have a stink to it and everybody's making money off, it's like crypto. Oh, that the red pill coin is making more money. Now I want to invest put my Solana into the red pill. That's what it is. All it is just these fucking day trading fucking grifters who want to go with whatever the new fucking hotness is. Trust me, if tomorrow the red pill was like the new hotness and everybody loved it and they started doing podcasts and everything, guaranteed Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate will be right on there. They will be right on that. And where'd she go? Tiffany, I'm still on the fucking show, so just call me later, okay? Thank you. Anyways, yeah, that would be the first thing I would criticize Chris Williamson. Why do you think that the people you've had on your show are in any way authorities on the red pill? And you know my name, and you've known my name since you were at 500,000 subs. You know who Myron Gaines is. You know who Rollo Tomassi is. You know who the thought leaders are in this movement, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And yet you still went to Destiny to tell you, oh, let's get it from the horse's mouth. Fuck you. Like what on earth would make you want to do that? Well, because it's going to get eyes on the screen. In fact, he said that he was worried about having me on the show because he was worried about losing half of his audience, because he thought that I would be gleeful about stuff. And what gets me is the same information. I mean, sometimes exactly the same studies that I have quoted on this show and on my own articles and my own work. He has the same people on. The same exact people on. And when it comes from them, it's okay. But when it comes from Rollo, no, I don't want to lose my female audience. I'm worried about that. No, he seems gleeful about it. All I'm doing is relating the same exact, maybe I'm interpreting the data differently. Like the stuff that Alex from DateSite would bring up on when he did the interview with Chris Williamson is exactly the same stuff, the same source material that I've used. I just interpret it differently. There's data, and then there's interpreting the data. So when I say, this data points to the alpha widow dynamic or the war brides dynamic or whatever it is, right? I go and I point those things out. He doesn't want to hear about that because it sounds like he might lose market share. And that to me says he's more concerned about his personal brand than he is about the fucking material. All he's doing is just, oh, Thor died today? Is that the case? I have no idea. Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that. Fuck, I do not have the stats on that. Fuck. Yeah, I knew he was in really bad health. I did not know that. I'm gonna have to. I couldn't confirm that at first, but now I'm looking at it. Update on my brother Thor hasn't woken up all today. He hasn't moved. He's labored breathing, and the nurse said it could be any time because he's not eating or drinking. Molly Markinson is his brother. Says my brother passed away today. I guess that was 28 minutes ago. So raise a glass to Red Pill Thor. He has left. A great light has gone out in the universe today. I will probably do a memorial podcast for him this week, most definitely. I did try contacting him over the last couple of weeks. I tried texting him, but I wasn't getting any response. I do know that Glenn Lawrence was trying to take care of him. I can commend him for that at the very least. But yeah, you rest in peace, Thor. He's in Valhalla today. So just to let you guys know. So anyways, I hate to end the show on a down note, but I guess I'm going to have to. I need to go get more information on this myself. So if there's no further questions, I'm going to kill it right here. I got to go get some food, and I know Tiffany's been bugging me, but now I got to go find out about Thor. So namaste, vaya con Dios. I will be, like I said, I will probably do a memorial podcast for Thor at some point. That's sad. I'm sorry. Gosh, it just happened 28 minutes ago too. It was right during this stream. So anyways, okay, guys, I'm just going to kill it here. I will be doing Access Vegas on Wednesday. I might even have a memorial thing for him on Wednesday. So we'll see how it goes. I will be back in Vegas tomorrow. So I'm flying back tomorrow, and it's a good time here. Hope you guys have got something out of today's stream. I actually stayed an extra day in Miami just so I could do this. Just to let you know how dedicated I am to the stream. So, but yeah, man, vaya con Dios, Thor. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. All right, guys, I will see you guys later on. And let me put it up. There it is.